Excuse me while I whip this out.
Lonzo is a superstar.
Yeah!
I'm a winner. I know how to win.
Good morning.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. There it is. That's the yeah we're looking for. Ladies and gentlemen. It's another really good yeah. A lot of good yeahs out there today. Welcome in the Thursday edition of the Rob Brown Show goes now. It is the fan upstate, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. And what a day we have lined up for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Like a Michigan State half-court shot, it's just madness up in here today, y'all. You didn't see the end of that game. You missed out on a good one.
Wow, one of the few baskets that actually fell. Was that 58-50?
58-55.
Wow, that's a lot of points.
Defense matters.
I'm sure there was really good defense. Not a lot of I would love to, maybe I will look up the attempts.
Defense matters, people. Defense matters. Even if Dan Hurley disagrees, even if Gino Auriemma disagrees,
I'm just curious.
Defense matters.
So if you miss a layup 4 times in a row, was that defense? Does the defense get the credit for that? I'm serious. Does the defense get the credit for that? Because those are failed attempts. So is that a defensive stat?
Were they being defended?
Not necessarily.
You'd have to show me the 4 consecutive missed layups you're talking about. If a guy's just down there bricking bunny after bunny.
And gets his own rebound every time, does the defense get the credit for that?
If he's down there just bricking bunnies by himself, no, and I'd put his ass on the bench. But if there's
if he did that, no one would be able to play in college basketball.
I'm really excited about March Madness with Lonzo, everybody.
You were really prepared for me to not be here today. Just think of what you would have missed out on.
I was not. I'm glad you're back after the fun and shenanigans we went through yesterday. I'm glad you're here. I'm just really excited about March Madness with the great one as we roll through America's second favorite sporting event, the March Madness tournament, with Lonzo in here trying to poo-poo our fun.
I've been here since the beginning of this station doing this. So, and there's also the fact that I usually take that time off so I don't offend hosts, people.
I like how he puts it as plural, like he's not talking directly about me.
Oh, no, I've offended other people. I offend people just by the sound of my voice.
You?
Yeah.
Stop.
I know.
Stop it.
There's no more huggable person on the planet, but apparently I offend people. Whatever.
We got a lot to get to on a Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. We got the lovely Lulu Kesson coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll check in with her, find out what's going on in the football and the basketball fronts of South Carolina. We got Rashad Beard, as far as I know. He'll be joining us at 8:40 to talk a little Carolina Panther football with us today on the show. We got at 9 o'clock, hating-ass Mario coming by. We'll talk to him. A little NBA talk as we're now officially on the backslide, second half of the NBA season. Does he, as I do, consider the Lakers a Western Conference front runner at this point? We're going to talk to Mario at 9.
He's going to poo-poo it because he doesn't.
The Lakers?
Yeah.
I think he might be surprised.
Okay, I will be.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him about it yet. I haven't gotten a chance to ask him. Why would I? Why ruin
isn't
the
he
fun?
a LeBron hater, if I recall? I could be wrong.
I don't think he's a Braun hater.
My head is muddled with snot, so I could be absolutely wrong.
I don't think he's a Braun hater, but we'll find out at 9 o'clock when he joins the show live. Mario Heron, NBA analyst for the BetMGM Network. Looking forward to that. 9:20, I assume, if Lonzo is still with us.
Dude, that's why I'm here.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I mean, I could have taken the day off because I'm not feeling well, but We play hurt here.
We
That's
do
what-
play
that's
hurt
what-
here.
Well, all right. Some of us play hurt.
As PK Subban said, are you hurt or are you injured?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're hurt, show the hell up.
I've had a headache since last Saturday. I've made it through this point. I mean, I could like bleed out the nose and die, but at least I would have done that.
Hell of a way to go.
On the radio. Yeah.
Hell of a way to
I
go.
mean, not everyone can die on the radio, so I mean, there's that.
If you're going to go, make it memorable.
By the way, I don't want to go. I would like to be a burden on my children into my 100s.
I assumed. 920 Fight Club with the great Malonzo, and there's no shortage of pro wrestling for us to talk about.
The Chamber coming up. Sorry,
Elimination Chamber?
the overnight guy, big time Boston accent. It was tough.
You'd have been so proud. I was on my BetMGM weekly spot, BetMGM Tonight weekly spot with Ryan Horvat and Brad Evans on Tuesday. And we opened the interview, and Brad, who is a big college basketball guy, he sets it up. He's like, ask me a question about the SEC and ask me a question about Auburn and Alabama. Do you have any futures bets on SEC teams? Blah, 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 blah. All well and good. We talked some college basketball. And then there hits a point where it's time for question number 2. And our boy Ryan Horvat goes, all right, Rob, college basketball, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the stuff people really want to talk about. Here are the odds for Elimination Chamber. Who you got? And we ended up doing like a solid 5 minutes of Horvey and I fantasy booking Elimination Chamber on a nationally syndicated radio program. I've never been so proud in my life.
I'm glad I didn't hear it, so we can heir it again later.
Yeah, we'll get to talk in today because I got thoughts. I got thoughts. So does Zoe. Fight Club at 9:20. We'll get set up for a PLE this weekend. We got to get some NFL in here, and this is going to be both an item on the water cooler cheat sheet 1 hour from now and something we're probably going to do multiple segments about today because there are some changes potentially coming to the National Football League this year. The NFL is going to be having discussions about, the competition committee will be meeting and talking about, and potentially the owners could be voting on 2 major changes to the NFL upcoming. One of them will impact every single game. One of them will impact some games. The one that will impact some games is that the National Football League is looking at adopting the overtime rules of the postseason into the regular season. As it stands now in the NFL's regular season, if a game goes to overtime, the team that gets the first possession, if they score a touchdown, the ball game is over. In overtime, the other team gets a possession either way. If the first team scores a touchdown, team number 2 gets a possession. If the first team does not score a touchdown, team number 2 gets a possession. In the regular season rules, if team number 1 gets a touchdown, the ball game is over conclusively at that moment. And what the NFL found out is that 58-ish% of the time, the team that gets the ball first wins overtime games. They would like that number, obviously, to be closer to 50%. So 58%, almost 60, 58% of the time that team in the regular season, the team that gets the opening possession wins the ball game. So the NFL is considering moving the overtime rules of the playoffs into the overtime of the regular season, meaning that in the regular season, in overtime, both teams would get a possession regardless of the outcome of the initial drive. I've said for many years, I still think the one place that I would say out on the field, the one place that I would say that the college game is superior to the NFL is their overtime rules. I think college football overtime is perfect. Now, I liked it more before the gotta go for 2. I liked it back in the LSU Texas A&M. How many would they go? 8 overtimes that one night? I like that. I like just firing back and forth at each other over and over until somebody screws the pooch.
So you're not that guy who's going to be unhappy no matter what. You're not going to find a flaw in anything that they do. You wouldn't be that guy That's good. Yeah, but it would if it was this though, it would be better. You're not that guy, right?
I mean, I'm not the czar of football yet. I got high aspirations. One day I should just be the president of football, just the president of American football. But I'm not there yet. No, not necessarily. I think the college game is very close to having a perfect overtime. Set the ball on the 25, line it up. Let's play football and see who's better. Set it up at the 25. Let's run it back over and over until somebody makes a damn play. I don't like the NFL system. I just give me college football and let's go. Now, if you're going to go with the NFL system, okay. But as previously stated, I do think that teams should alternate possessions until somebody does not accomplish what the other team does. If Team A scores a touchdown and they give the ball to Team B and Team B scores a touchdown and then they give the ball back to Team A and Team A scores a touchdown, they are now 2 for 2 in 2 possessions. Team B is 1 for 1 in 1 possession. They did not get the same number of possessions to produce the same equal outcome, and I don't think that's a good idea. Part of the reason that I think the college game overtime rules are superior is because there is no way to say it is unfair. Both teams are, by definition, getting equal possessions for one of them to produce a superior outcome.
I'm curious, how many heads will explode, including your own, if college football decides to go with the NFL way and change the way they're doing overtime, since college football is basically NFL light now, and they want to prepare their players for how it's going to be when they get to the NFL, so they've decided to change it to the same way the NFL does it.
Genuine question. Why would the NFL give a damn about preparing players for the NFL?
No, you mean college football.
I mean, why would yeah, that's fair. Why would college football change their game to prepare kids for the NFL? That doesn't benefit them at all. That didn't help them at all. If there was some impact.
You're right. I'm not. I mean, if I'm a coach or a team or a college, I don't go, hey, I'd put a bunch of players in the NFL.
Oh, wait. I didn't say coaches. I didn't say coaches in colleges. I said the rules committee of college football. Why would the college football rule makers care if college football is helping the NFL? They don't have a reason to. They have a product that I think they do. Let's start with this. Let's rewind the conversation back to a part that I did not get your thoughts on. Do you agree that college overtime rules are better?
For safety reasons, I don't know.
Forget safety reasons.
All right. If there's,
in terms of football.
If I don't care about whether people are tired and get hurt, yeah, they're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I do prefer them. But in the NFL, where it's so hard to score back and forth in some games, those guys could be out there a really long time just going back and forth, which could potentially put them in danger.
I mean, playing football puts you in danger.
It does.
If you're worried about
fatigued football, you got a better chance of getting hurt.
Without getting into all of the extras about it, I think the college football overtime rules are dramatically superior to the NFL's, either the regular or postseason NFL overtime rules. I think the college games overtime rules are remarkably superior to the NFL's. And that is something I have said for a very long time and will continue to. They just are a better way to figure out a winner.
I also am wondering if they're just doing this to make it look like they're doing something. How many overtime games happened regular season last year?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can find out. I would guess there was probably 10 or fewer, though.
No, I'm going to go with 2 at the most.
No, I think there were more than that. Let's see if we can find out how many overtime NFL games in 2024. According to our favorite Showtime researcher, ChatGPT, during the 2024 NFL regular season, there were a total of 16 overtime games. 70% of all games were within one score in the fourth quarter. 16 of them ended up going to overtime.
So what they're doing, this is what politicians do also, is let's fix something that no one's saying, hey, you need to be fixed, just so it looks like we're doing something.
No, I disagree. You have a situation in a highly competitive game.
And I disagree with the senator across the board from me who's just disagreeing with me to disagree.
70% of all NFL games last year, according to ChatGPT, take it with a grain of salt. I haven't done the math, and I don't want to. 70% of all regular season games were within 8 points in the fourth quarter. So one score, one possession game. 70% of all games. In a league where with great regularity, divisions come down to a game. End of the year, there is a game separating teams at the top and bottom of the division. Getting overtime correct, to me, is kind of a big deal. 70% of games are one score away from being an overtime game. 16 overtime games. Now, I will say this, and I may very well do this after the show today. We'll find out. I am curious as to how many of those overtime results had a division-defining result to them or division-defining outcome. As in, a team had you flip this overtime result the other way, would have gotten to the playoffs. I don't think there's more than maybe 3-4 of those overtime games. But that still matters. Why would we not want to get it right before it becomes a problem instead of after?
You're right. There's been an outcry throughout the league that it needs to be fixed.
Well, then what is your issue with the change there? Like, what's your problem with them doing this?
Again, it's busy work. It's let us look like we're doing stuff when there's other things that could be fixed.
Like what? What's a priority over this?
Well, if I were coming from your point of view, referees.
Oh, don't worry. We got a tech argument coming up in the very next segment.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
I'm just here to say you were right. That's the reason. I mean, I could be at home sleeping right now because I don't feel well, but because I saw the reports and I'm here so it's no fun gloating when you're alone, even though I can't see your face.
I disagree.
But it's more fun to gloat when there's someone else in the room.
That is true.
I mean, so because in honor of your birthday. I wanted
it's not my birthday.
Right.
So.
It was yesterday. And I've noticed some signs of age today. I watched you very closely as you set everything up, and you moved a little bit slower today than you did yesterday.
Oh, well, I hit the threshold. It's all downhill from here. I'm
here to help you in your transition.
I'm dying slightly faster today than I was yesterday.
It was a long time ago when it happened for me, but I'm here to help you. That's why I'm here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for being the Flava Flav of the show. I like the change. I like the idea. We'll talk more about it. But there's another change on the horizon, and this one I am very excited about. This one I will stay forever very pro. I'll tell you what it is when we come back. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's The Fan Upstate. Oof. Good morning, everybody. Cajun Boy, Kane, Mike, Miss Lisa, the GOAT, and Zach. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. I will eventually, or I won't, and then in which case, then it's, say something nice about me. So 40 candles, or are you just deciding, no candles at all? I can't, no cake, no nothing.
My
are you
my
no longer
mom
celebrating?
My mom came into town to surprise me for the 40th, and we went to Sassafras downtown yesterday. It was pretty good.
Sounds fancy.
It's not fancy, but it's not like it ain't Hooters,
Which is filed for chapter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I think we need to talk about. Actually, I'm going to write that down to talk about later. The Hot Rod Brown Show continues. Rob Brown, the great one, Alonzo. We are talking about the rule changes that are being discussed by the National Football League. Troy Vincent, the NFL's Vice President of Football Operations, said yesterday that there are two primary rule changes that are up for adoption this year. Number one is the overtime rules in the regular season. The discussion right now, as we talked about in the last segment, so we won't hang on it, is that the NFL is looking to potentially change the regular season overtime rules to match the postseason overtime rules. As it stands, in the regular season, Team A gets a possession. If they score a touchdown, the game is over. If they do anything else, Team B gets a possession. If they outdo whatever Team A did, the game is over. If they match whatever Team A did, then play continues, and effectively the next score wins. In the postseason overtime, Team A gets a possession, and no matter what happens with Team A, Team B gets a possession. If they match Team A, play continues, next score wins. It's golden goal after that. If they outdo Team A, obviously the game is over. The new rule would be moving that system into the regular season. There is something else that is up for grabs potentially during this offseason. No, we're not killing anybody else off. The discussion that is up for grabs now is the potential enhancement of the virtual ball spotting system in the National Football League. Here is what we understand is on the table right now. The NFL said yesterday, Kim Fields, Esquire, said yesterday that the NFL has been working on, in the background over the past couple of years, a virtual ball spotting system. Effectively, much like baseball with their automated strike zone, they have been working on technology to give a 3D rendering of exactly where the ball is at the moment that a runner is down. Now, they have not gone into the great technical detail that I hope that they will, and I'm sure will begin to be reported when the owners start meeting next week and this goes on the table for a vote. I genuinely, just out of sheer curiosity, would like to know what they're using. With baseball, we know we have the Hawkeye system. We know how that works. We can see it in action. You can go on YouTube, and there are videos breaking down this technology and how it works and where it is in the stadium and how it operates. It's very sciencey, actually, and I'm all in on it. I don't know the technical details of the ball spotting technology, the virtual measuring system in play for the NFL.
Why don't you call Tootie up and see if she'll tell you what it is?
Tootie?
Yeah, that's who she played.
Miss Kimberly Fields Esquire.
Yeah, that's who she played in the.
We should try to get Kimberly Fields Esquire on the show. I'm in. I'll do that after the show. I'll see if we can make that happen. That's a good call. So the conversation is putting the virtual spotting system into play in games. Here is what I understand about the proposal as it stands today. It would not be utilized except to gauge whether a first down had been acquired. So it's 1st and 10, hand off to the running back off the left-hand side. He goes for 3 yards. The system is not in play. 2nd and 7, quick pass out to the 2 receiver on the right-hand side. He dives ahead for 4 yards. This system would not come into play. It is now 3rd and 3. Run an A-gap ISO off the right-hand side. The running back gets right to the line of scrimmage, goes into the pile, and now we're stopped. This is when the VMS, the virtual system, would come into play. This system would then send a alert of some type. And again, I don't know if the refs will have a little Palm Pilot or a little Google Watch or a little buzzer in the ear or what. But it would send a signal to the officials that would say it is a first down. The sideline refs, the linesmen, would still be in charge of spotting the football. They would still run down the sideline with the ball carrier. They would still find the spot. They would still run out doing the arm wave.
I don't understand.
Or the arm wave.
I don't understand something. So it's only going to be used for first down, so they trust the human eye to spot everything else, but except for the first down.
No, what it is, there's a bunch of bleeding heart liberals out there like you who are like, these poor referees going to lose their jobs.
Yeah, no, we're not even talking about that, and I'm not offended by your statement because we all know it's not true. What I'm saying is, as far as consistency goes, why are they not using it every time?
Genuinely, this part is not a joke. Because of you. Because of people who see this and they go, I like humans being involved. I like humans being in charge. This is a very slow rollout of what I fully believe will one day be fully automated ball spotting technology. But they don't want to go 0 to a gazillion and just go today. We're automating it entirely.
Yeah, because it looks like, we trust you except for when it counts. That's what it looks like. Hey, if you're going to do it all the time. I mean, so, if we're gonna go to this, let's go to it the whole way, not only partially.
You saying that to me like I'm not on board for it. I agree entirely.
Because it looks suspicious or wonky or weird or whatever, only doing it during that time.
So it basically comes down to the old metaphor of if you drop a frog. Hey, I know I'm going old man metaphor here. Stick with me. You mean doing the old man voice? That'll feel better. If you drop a frog into a pot of water and it's boiling, the frog's gonna jump back out. As somebody whose family cooked frog a lot, I get it. Okay. If you drop a frog into a boiling bowl of water, it's fair. It's a good metaphor, though. All right. This metaphor has been around for a gazillion years because you can't come up with a better one. All right. If you drop a frog into a pot of boiling water, that frog goes, ah, and it jumps out of the pot of boiling water. Now you got to go catch a frog before you can cook him up and get him boiled up and fried or whatever you're doing. Okay. But if you drop a frog into a pot of room temperature water and then you start increasing the temperature a degree by degree until it gets to cooking temperature, that frog doesn't know the change until it's too late. Until I got some delicious frog legs.
I know we don't want to go off here, but has anyone ever tested that? I know it's been said like millions of times. Has anyone said, you know what? I don't believe that, and went and got a frog and tried it? So we're just trusting that works that way.
Are you saying my grandpappy's a liar? Are you saying Grandpa Brown was a damn liar?
I am saying.
Is that what you're saying about his frog boilings?
I'm saying that Rob Brown is a trust but verify kind of guy who goes.
You want to do some science with some frogs and boiling water?
Hey, we can get an LED.
We got a stove downstairs in the kitchen.
We do. We absolutely do.
Somebody bring me a bullfrog. Not only do we get to do science, then we get to have lunch afterwards. Pretty good day. Pretty good day. You ever cooked frog before? I like some frog legs.
I've had frog legs, but
They're delicious.
You hear stuff like that and you just automatically believe it. And I want to know who's the last person who tested it.
I have not. Some Cajun lady down there in Appalachia, Louisiana.
Her name is Glenda. I don't know.
No, ain't no Cajun ladies named Glenda. All right, ain't none. There was like an Ethelda down there. My grandmammy's name on my mama's side was Myrtle. We called her Tiny because she was about 4'2" and would whoop your ass.
Yeah, you don't want to.
You don't want to mess. You don't want to mess with Myrtle. Myrtle Revere. You don't want to mess with Myrtle Revere.
My mom's only slightly taller than that, and I can agree with you there for sure.
Myrtle Revere was the only woman that I have ever been truly and genuinely terrified for, and you know when that ass woman was coming because she start talking French right before she got to you. Like she walks in the room and she starts talking French. You had better do whatever Myrtle damn Tiny Revere just told you to do. Because she was 4'2" of hell and fury, boy. Love some Myrtle Revere. All right, so the point here is we're only introducing this on not even where the ball is on the field. It is simply, yes, it is a first down or not. They're not going to be sending graphics to the they're not going to be standing out there with a video monitor and going, all right, we're going to put it 6 inches past the 14-yard line, and that's where the ball spotted.
Well, I don't know if you pointed out that they tested this all last season.
Yes, so I did point that out.
So they've been testing it. I halfway listen. They've tested
Most people
it.
in my life do.
Yeah, I mean, but at least you get half listening, half not listening. That's better than only 20% listening.
Selective hearing is
yes.
real.
So they've already tested, so they have an idea. How long does this last? Do they go full on? I know you would like them to go full on, or do they go, well, we tested it and there's no difference really between the digital and the actual placement of the ball by the human beings. So this should quell the argument, and we're gonna discontinue it.
That is a valid question. I would make.
I will go back to the penalty of the reviewing pass interference. Lasted a year, and then they decided that it didn't really work, and they stopped it.
The interesting thing about that, and I think we're going to be on this for a hot minute, and that's okay because it's a big deal. Again, this is cranking the water temperature up towards the boiling point of we're just automating officiating now up by one more degree. So the reason, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's run to a break because I do want to address that. Because that whole challenging a pass interference thing, this may shock you. But I think the cancellation was bull boat. Completely and entirely, it was bull boat.
No.
It's kind of like, because the referees were the one who got to assess where it worked or not. It's kind of like when something goes wrong with the authority organization, and then everybody says, that's bad and that's wrong. And then they go, we're going to investigate this. And then they come out 20 minutes later and they go, we've investigated ourselves and we have found that we have done nothing wrong. Shocking. Most bank robbers plead innocent. Plead not guilty. There's a difference. I got problems still. And that's why I want to be way out ahead of this as we roll it out. So let's continue this conversation when we come back. Rob Brown, Lonzo, and you, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate. The frogs in falling water was actually a scientific experiment. They also experimented on frogs when they put. Kane.
I asked you to not
Kane.
read it, didn't I?
Kane.
Because we don't need to get into.
I worry about you, Kane.
Yeah, it's like
Lovingly.
I've got an extreme migraine. I can't even say the word migraine. I have no idea what he's talking about. But anyway.
It's turning the freaking frogs gay. It's one of my favorite internet memes of all time.
Okay, see, I don't know that meme.
You don't know the turning the freaking frogs gay?
No,
meme?
I do not. It sounds pretty funny though.
It's Alex Jones.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
A number of years ago, he did a whole ass rant on his InfoWars shirt.
Yeah. Believe it or not,
The chemicals they were put in the water were turning the freaking frogs
I think
gay.
you're starting to find this out. Is that not everybody ascribes or subscribes or whatever to what everyone else says because they're in the same political party.
Turning the freaking frogs gay.
I don't know that that's not true, but I don't know if I'd be able to tell. And I'm not watching frogs that closely. I don't think I'd recognize a lesbian frog. Because I got to be honest, I'm not quite sure where frog genitalia are. And I am not going to go looking for frog genitalia. I'm definitely not looking it up on
I'm
the
gonna go
work
ahead and say
internet.
That's probably a sentence nobody's ever said.
Yeah. I mean,
Could be wrong.
in order to know the sex of the frog, unless spots have something to do with it, I don't know. And you would have to check out the genitalia. And I dissected a frog in biology too. I don't remember if it was a girl frog or a boy frog. It was a dead frog.
Well, if you were dissecting live frogs, there'd be movies about it.
It was my high school, so it was definitely a
fair.
possibility.
That is also fair.
Fun part's the stabbing.
Fun part is the stabbing.
Teaching you life lessons. How to survive. I don't know. If you had to experiment on a frog, which one are you going to try first? The boiling water thing or the gender thing? I don't know. I'm thinking the boiling water thing would be easier to prove.
Turning the freaking frogs gay.
I think maybe that stuff shows up on yours because, the anti
Oh, I go looking
thing.
for it.
Okay,
I'm not-
yeah, I don't. 1 minute.
I am comfortable saying Alex Jones is a freaking weirdo, and it cracks me up.
There are weirdos in all aspects of politics, including James Carville, just because of what he looks like. He's an odd-looking fellow.
You're putting James Carville and Alex Jones in the same sentence.
I'm anti-politics. I don't want. I obviously I have a side, but I don't want to fight about it. I don't.
I'm fighting. Alex Jones is.
I may joke every once in a while, but I don't.
Alex Jones is free entertainment.
No, his entertainment cost him a lot of money.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. So I do know about that.
That is true.
I don't think it's the same thing because if the water in your pool is boiling, you live too close to the sun.
I think he's saying just how to catch the frogs.
Oh, okay. Again, wait till the sun goes down. Don't let the sun go down on me. Yep, when I'm lashing in the goofy over here, I'm done. I'm fried. I am the frog in the water. As especially since I think I'm going to be in trouble for not reporting that I'm here.
Not reporting that I'm here.
I've already had to answer a text. Yes. So out of courtesy, I decided to not wake someone up and tell them that I was coming to work. I mean, turn on the radio, man. We're worldwide, you know? You can tell if I'm here or not. Although I could, well, I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm tired of tasting blood. Ugh.
Adrian!
Were you playing it correctly?
I don't know. I was playing the bass line.
I know, but I was just wondering if you were.
I mean, I'm close.
Okay, all right.
Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show. So we are talking this AM about the two rule changes, or at least the two that have jumped out to the forefront of American society's attention.
And by the way, it doesn't mean either one of them are going to happen, right?
It certainly does not.
These are proposed.
These are proposed. These will have to be cleared by the NFL's competition committee, and then they will have to go in front of the ownership for a vote. The two rules are, number one, adopting the overtime rules of the postseason into the regular season, where both teams are guaranteed one possession. We'll talk more about this later on in the show, but I have already gone on the record and said college football's overtime rules, the one place where college football is definitively superior to the National Football League in terms of the on-the-field product. The second rule that is being discussed will be placed in front of the competition committee and then brought up for a vote by the ownership when they meet next month down in Palm Beach, Florida, is to increase the usage and utilization of a virtual spotting system. That is to say, tech on the sideline, that when a ref blows the whistle says, this is where the ball is. Now, if you haven't been with us, if you're just joining the show, let me give you a very, very brief rundown on it. Effectively, what is being proposed right now is that ball spotting technology will be utilized for one reason and one reason alone, and that is to tell the referees a first down was or was not acquired. So it would work this way. 1st and 10, quick handoff on the left-hand side. Running back picks up 3 yards. Referee on the sideline will still spot the ball and be responsible for putting it back into play. 2nd and 7, quick throw out to the right-hand side, inside slant route, good for 4 yards. Referee on that side will still wave his hands, run out, spot the ball for the next play. 3rd and 3, handoff to Derrick Henry. He gets very close to, is stacked up at the line to gain, inside of a pile. That is where this would come into play. The referee would still run in and spot the ball, but the virtual measuring technology would then tell the referees a first down was gained or a first down was not gained at that point. The ref would still spot the ball, but whether the chains move or not would be up to this virtual spotting system. So nothing changes as far as the way that the referees operate. They are still stopping play. They are still determining the spot of the ball. They are still waving the hands to stop the clock or spinning the arms in a circle like they're playing air guitar to signify that the clock keeps rolling, whatever. All that happens is, do the chains move or not? This ball spotting technology would make that decision. Okay? That's the only change. So Lonzo asked me during the last segment, why would they roll this out in such a limited capacity? Why would they roll this out in such a small way? Because, again, if it's 3rd and 3 and there's a pass for 10 yards that's completed, obviously it will not be used there. If it is 1st and 10 and there's a 3-yard run, it would not be used there. This will come into play when and only when a ball is spotted very close to the line to gain marker. So you are talking about if there is an NFL game that has, let's say, 100 offensive plays run in it, this would come into play maybe what? 7, 8, 9 times per game. Why would they roll it out in such a limited way if it has the capability of being so accurate in spotting the football? My answer is this: because of people like Lonzo. Because of people who are hesitant, dislike, distrust, just want to keep the human element involved, whatever your rationale is.
I hate robots.
Or you just hate robots. Whatever your rationale is, it's for that. It is basically a way to turn the temperature towards automated officiating just 1 degree. We're turning up the boiling water on the frog 1 degree at a time. If they just came out and said, we've been working on robo-umps for 15 years now, and we think we've got it in a spot where it is ready to go, all the balls will be spotted via robo-ump from this point forward. Every football, every play is going to be spotted by the robo-ump. There would be a massive pushback against that. But if they do it just a little bit, then you might go, all right, well, it's not perfect, but hey, the side judge, he's still spotting the ball, right? He's still waving his arms and saying this is where it goes. All that's saying is, did the sticks move or not? Okay, we can tolerate that. And the next year you shift it up one more, and then you shift it up one more, and then one more, and then you just kind of gradually implement this. I am 100%.
They're going to have like a fish finder thing to go out to. I mean, how are they going to know when they place the ball perfectly the way that the computer?
Oh, that's the
tells them
thing.
to?
They won't. That's not part of the system.
It's more about saying, hey, it's a first down.
It is just going to say first down or not a first down.
Okay.
The officials will still manually spot the ball, right? So Derrick Henry gets stacked up at the line to gain. There's 5 Ravens and 5 Steelers defenders over there, and it's a stalemate. And Derrick Henry's lost somewhere in the middle. The referee, the side judge, will still run in, and he will still say, this is where I believe the ball was down, and he will still spot the ball wherever he believes the ball was down. All that is going to happen is he will have a little wristwatch or a little Palm Pilot or a little buzzer in his hat or on his waistband or whatever, and it will say first down awarded or not first down.
Wait a minute. I get this now. This is to appease the people who want the tush push gone, because how many of those touchdowns or first downs that Philadelphia got were not really those? And they'd be able to they probably know because they were already testing it. They probably know if it really was or wasn't. Will this eliminate that? Because you find out it wasn't nearly as efficient as it seemed to be, because underneath the pile, they're just guessing where the ball was. Now they'll know exactly where it is. So if it eliminates the tush push, some people will be happy.
I mean, some people are going to be happy and some people are going to hate it no matter how it works out. I agree with you. If they start implementing this tech, and it is provable, like if it gets to a point where this tech is correct enough that even those of you that like the human element, a.k.a. incorrect calls.
Why do you make that so negative?
Because it is.
Because you hate humanity?
No, because you like incorrect calls. That's it.
That's not.
I think incorrect calls are bad and correct calls are good. That's literally it.
Humans play the game. Humans should call the game.
No.
Yes.
Humans play the game, and if Derrick Henry gets a first down, he should be awarded a first down, and if the defense stops him from getting a first down, they should be awarded a fourth down.
Well,
nothing else.
I hope this thing passes, because so we can have a sample of whether it works or not.
And here we are at exactly where I wanted to be. Here is exactly where I wanted to be. Where I wanted to be was the anti-robo-ump guy on the show just said, I hope it passes so we can see if it works. Honestly, that's the step I'm looking for, because I know that I'm not going to get my way with full implementation of robo-umps as we move forward. I know that is not something that we're going to get a big sweeping rules change where tomorrow MLB, NFL, whatever is going to come out and go, we've done robo-ump works, we're fully implementing this across the board, and everything is going to be monitored, officiated, regulated by AI, robo-umps, whatever we're going to call it. I understand that's not feasible. All I need is, I just need a little ground. I just need a little bit of implementation. I just need a little bit. This is why I'm happy about Major League Baseball doing automated balls and strikes in spring training, because I have now been able to show you guys through 5 days of spring training. 5 days. If you have been following it at all, these challenges they are now down to about 14 seconds per challenge. It's so quick. Ball crosses plate, ump makes the call, catcher taps helmet, batter taps helmet, pitcher taps hat. The umpire goes,
The pole will fail the field.
Yeah, no, that's the worst thing you've ever done, and no idea what you just said.
Call selfish to be challenged.
Okay, that's closer.
and he stands up, and he turns, and he looks up at the scores box. And then everybody in the stands looks out to left field where the Jumbotron is, and they put a little graphic up there, and it shows where the ball crossed the plate, and it just says strike or it says ball. And the umpire says, or, and we all know it was right or it was wrong. It was just a little bit of a door, just a little bit of the door being cracked. And now there are people, I assume, who have been following spring training. The only issue I have with this is that it's in spring training, which only the hardcore dorks like me are paying attention to, okay? But that's okay. That's okay, because the old school hardcore dorks are the ones that have kept robo-umps away from baseball. And now they're getting a taste of it where they live, spring training, right? Where the hardcore dorks live, spring training, they're getting a little tasty taste. And what they're finding out is that a ball and a strike challenge is taking 14 seconds. Added to the 14 seconds. If you have 4 challenges in a game, you have added less than a minute to a 2.5-hour contest. I don't think 60 seconds is going to be such an extension of the game that it becomes miserable. It's not. Over in the NFL, I just need the door cracked. And here I have the door cracked. I'm not asking you to change where the ball is spotted on the field. I'm not asking you to take any authority away from the referees. I'm not asking you to change the way that they spot the ball or call the ball. All we're saying is let the virtual system say first down or not a first down. That's literally all. I'm not asking you to change anything about the way the game is officiated. Just let the system say first down or not a first down, because I believe that all of you human element people, every one of you human element people.
You said human.
I did. That's why I resaid what I was going to say so I can cut this into a social media post later. Thinking ahead. All of you human element people are going to see that this is a good thing, that it's not going to be a detriment to the game. It's not going to detract from the game. Baseball, we have added with 4 challenges a game, less than a minute to it, and we're getting calls where I have already seen on at least 3 occasions what would have been a 3-2 full count get erased and turned around, where a pitcher earned a K or a batter earned a walk on a review. If the batter takes ball 4, he should be awarded the walk that he earned by not swinging at a ball. Not the pitcher just gets another chance to K him because the umpire was wrong. If a pitcher paints the corner on a 2-2 count and the batter doesn't swing the bat, the pitcher should be awarded a strikeout, not the batter getting another crack at a walk or a hit because he earned it. And now we've seen that play out, and it takes 14 seconds. That is less than the pitch clock is.
All right. So where is the chip in the football? Is it at both ends? Is it throughout the football?
This is part of what I said earlier. It's a great question. One of the things that I expect will happen between here and this rule going in front of the competition committee, one of the things I expect will happen between here and this going in front of the ownership group for a vote is a full breakdown on this technology. Full specs. We got the RFID chips here and here, or just here, or it's this and it's that. We got Hawkeye Tech in all these places in the stadiums. We've got them on top of the first down pylons. We've got them in the corners of the... I don't know. I don't know where any of that is. I think we're going to get a full technical breakdown of that. But what I would say is this. If you are a dude who is going to tell me that you are a yes or a no based on the tech specs, well, I just don't trust if they're here and not over here. I can at least work with that. But I also think you're full of crap, honestly. I think you're full of it.
I don't think we'll hear any of the data that came out from last year, because unless they really want this implemented, if they do, they will show that it would have changed games. If they don't show that it would have changed games, it won't last. If they come out and say, this game would have been different, this game would have been different, this game would have been different if we would have implemented this.
100% that's not going to happen. It has nothing to do with whether it's true or not. It's not going to happen because the one thing that the NFL has not done, will never do, is do anything that looks like a negative critique of the referees.
That's why I said we won't see it. So we're never going to know for sure.
I think that what we have to do is evaluate this moving forward. But the problem is we can't evaluate it moving forward unless the NFL actually puts it into play. And that's what the discussion is going to be. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. We got your water cooler cheat sheet coming up. Lulu Keston at 8 o'clock to talk Gamecock athletics. Rashad Beard at 8:40 to talk Panthers. Hayden Ask Mario at 9 to talk NBA, NFL, and whatever else we get into. Fight Club at 9:20. All that and more. But before we get to any of that, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, the great one with a sports flash.
Yeah, let's see if I can actually read. Although, I can't any other day. Why would today be different? Clemson Tiger basketball team will retain their position inside the top 15 with an 83-68 win over Notre Dame last night. Clemson was led by Ian Shefflin's 24 points and 9 boards, and Victor Lockton's 18 and 5. Jake Heidbreder added 14 off the bench. Clemson is on a 5-game win streak with 3 games remaining in the regular season and is 1 game back of Duke with a tiebreaker in hand. Day after Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter stated he wouldn't work out at the draft, a report surfaced saying the potential top 5 pick could need surgery on a stress fracture in his right foot. Tune in this Saturday at 1:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Wofford Terriers. It's Furman versus Citadel right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball, and it's the final game of the regular season on the Fan Upstate. You ever feel like your nose is bleeding? It's a horrible feeling. Probably won't look real good if I jammed a couple corks up my nose while I'm reading. Although it would sound like Rudolph, which would be kind of cool. She said I'm cute. Keep feeling like my nose is bleeding because I'm tasting blood and there's blood all back in my nose. The whole time I was reading, it felt like it was about to start bleeding. I know it's nasty. I know you're about to eat your biscuit. But if that biscuit tastes good, it's not going to matter what I say. And then like a hot biscuit, maybe a little honey on top of it. Well, the Kim folk make chocolate gravy. That's really good. I've tried it a couple of times. I cannot make it the way they do. But you got to try it. Once you've had something and you think, well, my family can do it, I should try doing it. Must have too much Ohio in me and not enough Kentucky. Who's got the best biscuits around here? Is it Bojangles? Is it some family restaurant somewhere?
That's a great question.
I mean, we hear about hamburgers, we hear about hot dogs, we hear about tacos. We don't hear about biscuits. Biscuit Head. There's a place called.
Biscuit Head's a good pick.
This
Biscuit Head's a sneaky good pick.
Where is Biscuit Head?
It's a franchise. There's a handful of them.
Oh, I've never heard of it before. I don't
Biscuit
think.
Head's a great pick. And off we go into hour number 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Rocking and rolling through the foremost electrifying hours of sports talk entertainment that you are going to find anywhere, anytime, any day of the week. We got a stacked show for you today. We got Lulu Kesson coming up in about an hour from right now to talk Gamecock athletics. We got Rashad Beard at 8:40 coming by to talk Carolina Panthers, the host of the Panther Nation podcast. We got hating ass Mario Herron for the BetMGM network at 9 o'clock. We'll talk about some of the draft prospects that are going to be out there. Big news about Abdul Carter. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. He is absolutely going to be on the Panthers draft radar. And we got some big news out of him that may very well shift the availability of Abdul Carter when the Panthers go on the clock. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a little while with hating ass Mario. 9 o'clock, then at 9:20. It's Thursday. You know what that means. Fight Club with the great one Lonzo, as we've got Elimination Chamber in the barrel for this weekend. PLE for WWE. We'll get into that and a whole lot more as the show continues. But it is 7:02 in the morning. It is 7:02 a.m. You are now less than 58 minutes away from having to get your happy little behind into the office. Sit down. Pretend like you're going to work. Pretend like you're going to actually be a productive member of society. But we all know what you're doing. You're waiting, anticipating for the opportunity to stand up, to walk down the hallway, to say it's time for that smoke break. I don't even smoke, but I'm dadgum sure going to take my smoke break. To go find Bill from marketing. Bill's a nice guy. Creative mind, and you know us creative types, we love some sports. Always will, always have. Go find Bill from marketing. Y'all are going to slip outside that back door, go to that one spot just around the corner where you know the security cam that the boss checks every hour can't see you, and you're going to talk sports. It's our favorite part of the day, talking sports with Bill. Well, you got to know what's going on in the world of sports, and if you got to know what's going on in the world of sports, ladies and gentlemen, no worries. Lonzo and Rob are here to help you out with this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworker saying,
Girl,
take their first bathroom break.
no.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office this morning and start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or your dog, whoever you spend your workday with. When you do, this is what you will be talking about. Let us dive right in with item number 1. The Americans' streak of She Believes cups has ended at 5. Team USA had an opportunity to get by Team Japan last night to try to capture cup number 6, but they fall 2-1 as the Japanese avenge their quarterfinal loss in the Olympics to claim the cup for the first time. 2-1 your final score. It was also the first loss for new manager Emma Hayes, her first defeat since taking charge of the U.S. women's national soccer team. Japan got off to a dream start just 2 minutes in when U.S. keeper Jane Campbell collided with one of the defenders in front of the goal. Yuka Mamiki was able to gather the ball, fired into an open net for the early lead. The U.S. regrouped under heavy defensive pressure from Japan, but they quickly tied the game when Ali Sentnor scored her first goal for the Americans back on Thursday against Colombia. She got goal number 2, was able to pick up an assist from Katarina Macario and calmly curl past a shot shot past the keeper to make it 1-1 just before the 15-minute mark. Japan started the second half like it did the first with an early goal. Campbell got a free kick kept out by Japan, but the save fell to the feet of Toko Kogo, slided home the rebound to give her team the second and final lead of the game. The U.S. had a couple of second-half changes, but could not find a way back into the game. However, it is, I think, required to point out that Team USA was playing without Mallory Swanson, without Trinity Rodman, and without Sophia Smith-Wilson. Rodman rehabbing a back injury. Smith was not yet in game form, and Swanson was out for personal commitments. So arguably the three best players on the team for Team USA not available for this tournament. Still had high hopes and aspirations for Emma Hayes in her first major orchestrated, organized tournament. The Americans make it to the championship game, but fall to Japan 2-1. They will regather before we get to the Gold Cups on the women's side and all that moving forward. Let us get to item number 2. We spent quite a bit of time talking about this back in the first hour of the show. I have sneaky high suspicion that it will make its way back into the conversation as we move towards the end of the show. The NFL is considering 2 major rules changes ahead of the 2025 NFL season. Those 2 rule changes are as follows, according to Troy Vincent, the NFL's Vice President of Football Operations. Rule change number 1 that is up for discussion is to adopt the NFL's postseason overtime rules as the NFL's regular season overtime rules. As it stands right now, in the regular season, Team A gets a possession. If Team A scores a touchdown on the opening possession, Team A wins. If Team A does anything else, Team B gets a possession. If they match, we begin sudden death. If they are able to be superior in their result, they're able to outscore Team A, they win the game. That is not the case in postseason NFL play. In postseason NFL play, Team A gets the ball regardless of result. Even if it is a touchdown, Team B then gets a possession with the football. If Team B matches a touchdown, now it is sudden death. If Team B has a superior result to Team A, they win. If they have an inferior result, the game is over. The NFL is discussing moving its postseason overtime rules into the regular season, meaning in every NFL game that ends regulation in a tie, both teams will be guaranteed 1 possession. It is a step in the right direction. To me, as I've said a couple of times so far this morning and will continue to do so, the one place that college football is superior to the NFL is its overtime rules. I would love to see the NFL ultimately adopt college football's overtime rules. I doubt that will ever happen, but this is a step in that direction. Those 2 proposals will be in front of the competition committee sometime over the next few weeks. If the competition committee agrees that they are acceptable and commendable, then they will go up for a vote before the owners meet next month, or when the owners meet next month in Palm Beach, Florida. The second rule that is being discussed is an advancement in the virtual ball spotting tech, the virtual measuring system. Now, again, we talked a lot about this back in the first hour. If you missed it, you can go to thefanupstate.com, go to the podcast section, download the first hour of the show, and listen to it on demand. We got into this quite a bit. Like I said, probably going to come back up later on in the show. What is being discussed right now is for the NFL to begin utilizing the virtual measuring system next year in regular season NFL games. It will not replace side judges. There will only be one aspect of the game where the virtual measuring system, the VMS, will come into play. The only thing it will be responsible for, according to the rule change that is being proposed, is awarding first downs on close spots. Did he, didn't he? Right? Talking tush push, We're talking Derrick Henry getting stacked up at the line to game. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes scrambling out to the right side, making a run at the sticks, and getting right up to the line. And we got a little contention about where the ball was when he was whistled out of bounds. The only thing this virtual measuring system will do is say, first down awarded, first down denied. Nothing else. When the play is blown dead, the side judge will still call whether the clock is to stop or continue to run. The side judge will still spot the ball. The side judge will still be in charge of putting the ball in the right place for play. The only thing that will happen is that the referee will have a little signaler on him, wristwatch, maybe a little mic in the cap like the pitch comm in Major League Baseball, maybe a little buzzer, a little beeper on his waistband like we all had back in our middle school days. And that little buzzer or beeper or microphone or headset or wristwatch or whatever will say first down or not first down and nothing else. So those of you that are all worried about all these poor umpires and referees that are going to be out of jobs moving forward, even though I have explained to you many times they will not be, all of you that are worried about it, we're not. The side judges are still in charge. The only thing that this measuring system, virtual measuring system is going to be is utilized to determine if a close call at the yard of gain is a first down or not. Nothing more, nothing less. We'll see how it goes in year one. My suspicion is that those of you that are anti-Robo-Ump, I'm going to win most of you over with this.
Can they change the name to index card system?
Why would we change it to index card system?
You don't remember the index card to check for the first down?
Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Yeah, back when they just kind of arbitrarily put the ball somewhere on the field where the refs thought it was, and then we acted as if you needed a damn scientific laboratory to determine if it was
my
right or not.
idea, but I think it's a great idea.
Item number 3. Clemson's pretty good. Clemson's pretty good at basketball. Pretty good at basketball. They get a 83-68 win over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish yesterday. 24 points and 9 boards from Ann Shefflin. 32 minutes of action out of the Chef last night. 24, 9, and 3 was his final stat line. Victor Lackett, 18 points and 5 boards to go with 5 assists last night for Clemson. They ran away from Notre Dame. I mean, there was never really a question mark about Clemson's W in this game. 83-68, and frankly, it wasn't that close. Clemson had a 41-31 lead at the half. They kind of were even able to slow it up just a little bit. Late in the game, Brad Brownell's squad was, again, I'm not going to say dominant, but they didn't need to be. They didn't need to be. This team is now 1 game off of Duke for the ACC lead right now. They've got, just as they take a 5-game win streak, they've got 3 games left to play. On March 1st, they are on the road at Virginia. They get a 4-day break before they are on the road at Boston College, and then they get a 3-day break before they return home for their final game of the year against Virginia Tech. Virginia is 14-14, 7-10 in conference. Boston College is 12-16, 4-13 in conference. Virginia Tech is 12-16, 7-10 in conference. This could not be a better finish to the season for Clemson. Not just because they have got effectively the bottom of the barrel remaining in the ACC, which is good news. It's also because Duke's got 3 interesting games left ahead of them. Duke's got a Florida State team that has nothing left but pride to play for. A team that Clemson beat by, 100 last week? Then they've got Wake Forest. Y'all, Steve Forbes is an interesting coach there at Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons are 19-9. That's not a bad basketball team that Wake Forest has put together. Duke's likely to win that game. But it's March, or it will be on March 3rd when they play each other. There's madness afoot. And then they end in what I think The biggest game remaining on Clemson's schedule ain't on Clemson's schedule. Duke has got to go to North Carolina. They have got to take on the Tar Heels, who are 18-11, 11-6 in conference, and very much potentially a bubble team. The North Carolina Tar Heels likely have to get a couple of big wins to guarantee themselves a spot in the tournament. They have just one big game remaining. They do have a game against Miami, but Miami stinks, which is why Larrañaga walked away. They've got a game on the road at Virginia Tech on March 4th, but UNC Duke ends on March 8th at UNC in Chapel Hill. And I shall remind all of you that in the ACC right now, the Clemson Tigers tied with Duke. There is the potential. It's a long shot. There is the potential out there that when it's all said and done, the tiebreaker, which is the season series sweep, could come into play. And if it does, Clemson holds that mark right now over the Duke Blue Devils. Now, again, still very interesting because the Louisville Cardinals are right there. They are 15-2. Louisville knocked off Clemson earlier in the year. So you will also need the Louisville Cardinal to take a loss somewhere down the line. Louisville is currently 15-2, 22-6 overall. Louisville has Pitt, Cal, and Stanford left on the 1st, the 5th, and the 8th, respectively. There is a path. It is a long and winding one, but a path nonetheless for the Clemson Tigers to still win the ACC and get that double bye in the ACC tournament. We'll find out. We're going to talk about that. We'll keep an eye on that moving forward. There is a path. You're going to need some help. Far from a guarantee, but the possibility's out there. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. From right now, we got a lot of NFL draft talk we got to get to. We got a lot of NFL draft talk because Abdul Carter is back in the news. He is, without a doubt, I have to imagine, a top potential pick for the Carolina Panthers. We're going to get into what the news is regarding him and how it might impact the Panthers draft. We got to get some of the other players that have begun to announce that they will not work out at the combine. The physical combine, the workouts start today. So what should we be looking for? Talk about that and a whole lot more. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you, the Rob Brown Show's audio radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Hey, and I'm not anti-labor union. I think you can have a very good, very strong umpires union without handing them all the power to dictate games.
He is pro AI/robot control.
I am pro AI.
Reason why the first robot was named Robbie. I'm just saying.
Okay, this punt returner has a dial on it, and I don't know what the dial's for. So I turned it. I wonder if thing is gonna. Wonder if
It's
this
not
is gonna.
yours. Why you messing with?
Wonder if
stuff?
this is gonna like shoot the ball back out at me at 100
Well, you
miles
actually
an
have
hour.
to make a shot first.
That's also true. That was a bad start. Oh, that was clearly the wrong direction.
See, you mess with stuff and you break it. It's not even yours.
Yeah. I got real excited.
Fine the way it was. You know how to tweak it.
You don't like seeing what possibilities are? Read the floor, bro. I got to get one of these for the house. Oh, we're on a heater now, boys.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke American Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC
Yeah.
solution company.
I gotta walk all the way over here.
National brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets: appliances, HVAC.
Dang, now I want Biscuit Head.
Power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com
Jacob.
has the resources, experience, and talent needed
Messing
to
with me.
produce solutions. Our new technology platform developed by American
Oh,
Eagle
man, let's go for lunch.
produced tremendous results.
One right down there. on
Yes,
Wood
there
Road.
is. I've been there a few times since they opened.
If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
So good that you just got excited about it.
I love Whataburger.
Network. That's AmericanEagle.com 773 Network.
Give me a patty melt all day, baby.
Watch the ancient Egyptians build
The hell?
pyramids. Buy enough Bitcoin to purchase your very own private island.
Well, I automatically dislike it because it's popular.
That checks out.
Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to rewind time.
You know what that means? One less person in line ahead of me.
Never miss your favorite sports talk again. To get started, download Odyssey and search for your station.
Pearl. Yes, sir.
I just don't go down that way. I don't have to keep forgetting it's there.
Wrong way to push that. Yep.
I'm trying to avoid traffic on Saturdays. It sucks to not make it back in time.
Is the traffic that bad on Saturdays?
On Woodruff, yeah.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about town if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio,
Oh, I overcompensated. Story of my life.
Winning.
Put a putting, what'd you call that, ball returner, like an auto ball returner here in the studio. And I've learned two things about myself. Number one, if I make a handful in a row, I am so compelled to keep going. Number two, if I miss, I am compelled to keep going. This thing's a problem. I probably should get rid of it. The second thing I've learned is this.
Except it's not yours. I mean, so you can't get rid of something.
No, but
that
I should
doesn't belong to
say
you.
take it out of here because I spent that entire commercial break knocking down putts.
You also set up the camera so people could see you make the
Hey,
putts.
I how many times have I told you I believe in accountability? If I'm missing putts, I need to be shamed for it. I am made better as a person by shame. We all are.
None of us here would shame you for any reason at all.
Oh, you don't. You clearly have stopped watching the chat during the live streams. Very clearly. Which all of you, by the way, can join us on our live stream. Facebook.com/The Fan Upstate, The Fan Upstate on YouTube or Twitter. The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch. Come hang out in the live stream. Jacob's in here. Kane is in here. Zach is in there. Miss Lisa is in there. Everybody's in there. Texture said, Rob, you okay? You mispronounced Louisville.
Yeah, don't encourage that because it gets longer every time, and eventually it's gonna last a minute.
Challenge accepted.
It's already so gross, and you just guys are making it worse.
Well, to tell you, the people from Louisville are very demanding about how you properly pronounce
Don't make
their
me
their city
retaste
name.
my sandwich that I just ate.
Just because we're talking about the Cardinals of Louisville.
There are people. Listen, it's 7:25 in the morning. People are enjoying their eggs and their biscuits and their gravy and their hash browns. They don't need to hear that thing that you just did.
I was talking ACC basketball. There's 3 good teams in the ACC, says Texter. Duke, Clemson, and Louisville. He said the rest of the conference is the bottom of the barrel. Don't disagree. All right. Let's get some more stuff in here, shall we? Because we've been kind of bouncing all over the place. Spent a good bit of time talking about the 2 potential rule changes taking place in the NFL. 2 rule changes that I am very in favor of. And we'll pick back up on that conversation a little bit later in the show. Abdul Carter, edge rusher, Pennsylvania State University, and a guy who, honestly, I could see being the number 1 overall pick. Like, everybody's dialed in on Cam Ward. Everybody's dialed in on Shedeur Sanders. Sure, it's a quarterback league. It would make sense that the 2 guys the most being discussed as number 1 overall picks are the 2 quarterbacks. Abdul Carter, I think, is got the potential to be a very special player in the National Football League. But we got a little news yesterday about Abdul Carter, the potential number 1 overall pick. He has a stress reaction in his right foot. We found that out yesterday during a medical test. And he has to decide whether he wants to have surgery or not. Or at least that's what his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, had to say. Rosenhaus said yesterday night in Indianapolis, Indiana, according to Alonso, according to Mario, the best sports city in America.
I'll say, don't put that on me.
I wouldn't dare. He said, quote, "There are mixed opinions on whether he needs surgery, and we will figure that out in the near future." According to Rosenhaus, Carter has 2 options. Numero uno, he could have preemptive surgery, which would involve having a screw inserted in his right foot and returning to being able to work out and running in about 8 weeks, which would set him up roughly around rookie minicamp time. It would also mean he would be missing out workouts between here and there. Okay. Option numero dos is for him to bypass the surgery, not have bypass surgery. That's a different thing. Bypass the surgery, conduct his pro day at Penn State on March 28th, and prove to NFL teams that he does not need a procedure. Carter, his family, and his agents spent Wednesday consulting with doctors to gather more information. Rosenhaus, he expects Carter to make a decision sometime this week, but Rosenhaus said, quote, "Worst case scenario, we don't expect this to impact where he is drafted." Of course, a player and his player's agents not expecting something to impact where that player will be drafted is entirely unexpected, right? Shocking that they would say, of course, they don't expect that. But they ain't the ones doing the drafting, is they? Nah. The NFL teams decide where he is ultimately going to be drafted. This is something that could very well drop Abdul Carter down into a range where he is perhaps in play for the Carolina Panthers. Or it might not. Here's what I'll say overall. If there is any world where Abdul Carter ends up dropping down to being available to the Carolina Panthers at number 8, you better snag that dude on the real quick, okay? I don't think he's going to. I don't expect it. I think if I'm a GM, I am willing to take the risk on Abdul Carter, even if he decides not to have the surgery, even if he decides that he is not going to get cut, even if he decides that he's just going to bypass it and hope everything turns out all right. And even if you think there's a chance that he's not going to, that it won't turn out all right, that he can't be good, do it anyway. Do it anyway. That dude is a stud. The draft profile for Abdul Carter is about as positive as I've seen in a very long time for an edge rusher. There's really nothing this cat doesn't do well off the edge. We'll talk to Rashad Beard about this, but I'm going to tell you right now, I still don't think he's available at 8. I still don't think, even with this news, he's making it to 8. The question you would have here is, are you, if you are Carolina? I'm not trading to 1. I'm not trading to 2. I'm not trading to 3. I'm not trading inside the top 3 for Abdul Carter. But let's say, hypothetically, Abdul Carter drops a little bit and he's there at 4. He's there at 5. Now I'm in. How much, if I'm Carolina, knowing I need edge rushers, but also knowing I need offensive linemen, knowing I need another defensive back, safety probably, knowing there's other spots that I genuinely have needs, how much are you willing to move up? And how much are you willing to give up to move up for Abdul Carter?
How much of a risk is this, though? I mean, it's a fractured foot that he didn't know about, or at least they hid. And the fact that it could require putting a pin in it, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth the risk. Do you think it's worth the risk?
So stress fractures I know are problematic because there's really only so much you can do to help them. There's really only so much that you can do to prevent them from becoming an issue that is reoccurring down the line. A stress reaction, from the little bit of research that I was able to do this morning, because this, by the way, according to Drew Rosenhaus, take it with a grain of salt, his agent, take it with a grain of salt, they didn't find out about this until the draft combine test yesterday. That's the story right now.
I will say I had a broken foot, a stress fracture that I didn't know about till I tore ligaments in my ankle.
Sure.
And I mean, I know when it happened because the guy stepping on my foot, I remember vividly even this many years later. But I never got it checked out. And then when I tore the ligaments, they're like, hey, did you know your foot is fractured? I was like, no. And they said it's an old fracture. So, I mean, I think you can play through that sort of thing, and it's not that big of a deal. But I think it depends on where the fracture is, I guess.
The limited amount of research that I was able to do yesterday told me that a stress reaction is a response to repetitive stress or overuse on a bone, which, if left untreated, can progress to a stress fracture. It occurs when bones experience repeated impact or strain without enough time to recover. This is usually very common in the shin, in the hip, in the spine, and in the foot. The treatment is ordinarily rest and activity modification, ice and anti-inflammatory medication, supportive footwear, bracing, physical therapy, and a gradual return to activity, which obviously, it being the offseason, Abdul Carter has got the time to take a load off, man. Maybe get into one of those fancy chairs with the leg massagers and stuff and whatnot, right? But again, I am intrigued in the impact this might have based on, are there maybe teams that were looking at him 1, 2, 3, 4 that might go, yeah, I mean, stress fractures can be very problematic. Not in terms of time missed.
Would you pass on him?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
See,
Absolutely not.
I don't know.
I would still be willing, and obviously this would be on the advice of not just my team physicians, but like every physician at the combine. I'd want to talk to every doctor that I could get in front of this cat. I would 100% base it on the advice of healthcare and medical professionals. But if this cat, if I get told by people who do this stuff for a living that this is not a big deal, or that, yeah, there is some risk to it, but it's not high risk or whatever, I think this cat could be like real damn good. He's going to have to put some weight on. He's a little bit undersized for an edge rusher. That's what you do in the NFL. I'll take the risk. I think he is risk worthy, to the point that he is the only guy that if he falls to 4 or 5, I'd tell Carolina it's worth moving up 2-3 spots to go get him. We'll find out if Rashad Beard agrees with me in just a little over an hour from now. Lulu Kessin at 8 o'clock. Mario Herron of the BetMGM Network at 9. Fight Club at 9:20. All that coming up on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, going to step away for just a minute. Y'all stay right there for me. Please and thank you. Drew from Charlotte says, I wouldn't trade up for Abdul Carter, but if he falls in your lap, you have to take him. My fear is he turns out to be like Greg Oden. I don't have an issue with that take at all. Greg Oden was such an interesting case because Greg Oden coming into the NBA, we knew there were issues with the knees, and we knew because of his size that those issues were never going to get better. But you were talking about a guy who played a sport that was wildly impactful on his knees and at a size where people traditionally have lifelong knee issues. Now, it turned out to be worse than any of us could have imagined for the former Buckeye. But I understood the risk. The stress reaction for Abdul Carter is certainly an issue. It is certainly something that I would be concerned about. And a lot of it may have to do with Greg Oden flashbacks. That was a draft pick that tanked a franchise for a handful of years. So there is some concern about it. And I think it is very fair to have some concern about Abdul Carter. I also think this guy's a monumental talent. I am willing, if I am a Panther, if I am Dan Morgan, I am willing to probably go up 3 to 4 max spots. But again, it is also going to depend on the cost, right? Like, I don't know that I'm willing to give up 4 or 5 picks for him. I don't know if I'm willing to give up a first-round pick next year for him. I'd think about it, is all I'm saying. I think this kid is going to be one of the most successful draft picks out of this field, out of this crop, provided he can stay healthy. And obviously, right? Like, obviously his health determines whether he's going to have a career or not. I'm telling you, if this stress reaction is something that ultimately does not impact the guy, I think he's Hall of Fame caliber. I don't feel as strongly about him as I did Jaden Daniels last year, but it's pretty close. I think this kid has the potential to be a bona fide Hall of Famer long term. He is the fastest off the ball that I have seen out of edge rushers in the last few years. The guy's reaction speed and his burst off the snap is as fast as I have seen anybody. This dude has athletic talent as an edge rusher that, you know what else I can do with him? I can stand him up and play him at an outside backer. I do think that he will probably need to bulk up a little bit. He plays at 250. That's his combine weight is 250, which I think is about the most accurate reading you're going to get. Showed up at the combine at 250. If you want to make him a consistent on the line of scrimmage edge rusher, I think you probably got to pack another 10 pounds of muscle on him. I think you got to get him to like 260. I think he can play at 250, but I'd probably feel more confident playing him at like an outside backer. And I do think he's fast enough. But there is only one concern that I have about Abdul Carter. There is only one element of his game that I worry about as we are now in officially scouting mode. The one aspect of Abdul Carter's game that I have a concern about is that when he edge rushes, he wants to engage in contact, which isn't inherently a bad thing. The problem that I have is that his hands aren't as fast reacting to an offensive line block as I'd like him to be. He's the first guy to contact when the ball is snapped. He is going to beat every other edge rusher to contact, which means he's going to be the first guy to provide a threat as a rusher. But he's not exceptional in his ability to see where an O-lineman is going to punch a hand and get rid of it, right? I'm talking about when that hand comes out to make that first contact, I want somebody that doesn't just have reaction to see ball, get ball. But as he sees the ball is snapped, gets that first step and turns the eyes up the field, I want him to be able to see where a lineman's hand is going. Is it coming to the neck? Is it coming to the chest? Is it going to the gut? And be able to get a hand on it, swim move, rip move, whatever, inside, outside, to be able to get rid of that hand so that a long punching offensive lineman, I'm talking about like one of those left tackles that's got a wingspan that's a mile wide. If that tackle is coming, is pushing Abdul Carter off the edge, and he's able to get a hand on Carter and then ride him up the football field, keeping that hand extended, now I've nullified Abdul Carter. Now, he is fast enough that he's going to beat that offensive tackle a lot of times. That's why I'm intrigued with him. But the longer the longer the offensive tackle he's up against, I'm talking the longer the arm strength, the longer the reach, the more they will be able to just ride Abdul Carter up the field and get him out of play. That's my big concern. He's explosive. He's a motor guy. He's as good with that first step as any D lineman I've seen in a very long time. But I have one concern. Get rid of that first punch. Get rid of that first hand. Make an offensive lineman have to throw hands at you multiple times. The more times that I make that offensive lineman have to put a hand on me, the more chances I have to successfully get rid of that, get up under that block, and cut to the inside to try to negate the pocket. We'll see. I like the kid a lot. So I said, I think if he falls, that's where I want to go. I think if he falls, that's an auto draft pick for me. Do I think he's fallen to 8? I absolutely do not. I do not think he's getting to 8. But if he gets to 5.
All right, I just sent you Mel Kiper's mock draft 2.0. I don't know if you've seen it or not. And I don't know if this came out before or after the news of the foot, but he still has him going number 1 to Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I sent it to you on X.
See, here's the thing. I think I like that pick for the Titans. Because I'm honestly, I think I've seen enough out of Will Levis for Tennessee. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the week. I've seen enough out of Will Levis that I'm comfortable letting Will Levis have a shot at the number 1. Because I also think you go Cam Ward, you go Shedeur Sanders if you're Tennessee. Do either one of those guys, and I'll throw this at the great one, does Cam Ward, does Shedeur Sanders, either one of those guys, do you think their plug auto play and the Tennessee Titans are immediately successful? I don't.
No, I like both of them, and I really like Shedeur, but I think he's kind of undersized, and I'm not sure about how durable he's going to be.
I don't disagree with that.
I mean, how much did he really get hit? And he's going to get hit a bunch, especially going to one of these teams where he's going to be drafted at.
I don't disagree. I don't think Shedeur or Cam Ward, if you were Tennessee, I don't think Shedeur or Cam Ward is an immediate franchise-changing quarterback. I think both of them are projects. Both of those guys are guys I'm going to have to work with and develop at the next level. If for no other reason with Shedeur, then can we keep it a buck outside of Travis? Shedeur didn't really have a ton of talent around him. He didn't have NFL talent around him. Shedeur is going to have to be developed to what happens when everybody else around you is better than you or is on par with you. In Colorado, he was the playmaker. There wasn't anybody else there outside of Travis Hunter that could do it for him.
According to Kiper, and I just looked up because I was curious about how accurate Kiper has been through the years, and there's like a mixed bag about whether he has been or hasn't. But according to him, who I guess is still considered the foremost expert,
sure,
Shedeur is going to the Jets.
That is number. Where are they at? Where's their draft
7.
spot? 7?
Yeah.
That checks out. I've actually seen a lot of Shedeur. I think yesterday, if I recall, I know Coward said he had him at like 7 or 8. Kiper's got him at 7. And honestly, I think that's fair. Shedor's a heck of an athlete. Like, no doubt about it. He's a heck of an athlete.
And he has Jalen Walker out of Georgia going to the Panthers.
I'm good with that. Honestly, I'm good with that. And I think that's going to be about as good of a pick that is going to be available there for if you're Carolina. This is also why I've said I'm trading back, honestly. Because I think there will be guys available at 15 through 18 that are not a dramatic drop-off from the group of guys that you would be picking at 8. I think you can trade back as many as 8 or 9 picks and still be in that same realm of talent, and you can stock draft picks. I might be willing to make like 3 or 4 trades back, right? Trade back to 10, 11, then trade back to 15, 16, then trade back to 19, 20. Like, assuming there's going to be trade partners there. If you can find those trade partners that you can Belichick this thing and you can trade back 2 or 3 times, and now all of a sudden, even if it's over a 3-year span, you're sitting on 10 more draft picks and you gave up, let's say, 10 to move back, 10 spots to pick up 10 picks by just making a bunch of mini moves, I'm all in. I am now fully subscribed to the Eagles' philosophy. Every one of my drafts is going to have our fans going, what are we doing? What are we doing? How's this our move? Where's our sexy picks? And then you look up 2 years later and it's like, oh, Jalen Carter is real good at football, you guys. We just picked up a bunch of dogs. I'll tell you where else I subscribe because of the Eagles. It's not just this draft along the line. So and I don't think this is like revolutionary or anything. I am not just a visionary and a revolutionary. I also think I'm going to start leaning on picking kids that are coming out of the blue-collar college football programs, right? Philadelphia just drafted every kid out of Georgia for 2 years. Georgia was winning natties. What was Georgia doing to win natties? Beating your ass at the line of scrimmage with big dudes. Just going and getting a bunch of Jalen Carters and busting you up at the point of attack. That was Kirby Smart's entire strategy. I don't think Kirby Smart's had a great quarterback come through yet. I think he's had a series of very good quarterbacks come through. I don't think he's had a great one yet. But they put 5 tanks ahead of him. On the defensive side of the ball, they've played some great quarterbacks and won because they put 4 tanks across the D-line. They just beat your ass at the football. And if they can do that, they can win natties. I am willing to just look at drafting guys out of that school, out of Ohio State, out of Alabama, out of the consistent top performers in college football. I'm just drafting all their linemen. I am down with that Philly philosophy. So we'll see if that moves the needle at all for the Carolina Panthers. But I'm interested to see what Abdul Carter looks like, and if he falls 4 or 5 spots. That would be, and I think this is fair. So he's the only thing I'm trading up for if I'm the Panthers. I don't think there's another player in this draft that if you go, oh, he could have been a 1 or 2 pick and he's available at 5, I'll move up 3 spots. Abdul Carter's it. But now the mocks are coming out, even with the foot injury, the mocks are coming out saying most of the big dogs still have him going number 1 to Tennessee. I think Tennessee's trading down. If Tennessee trades down, a quarterback's going 1. If Tennessee trades down, a quarterback's going 2. So if Abdul Carter's hanging out there at 3, and there's 2 primary quarterbacks in Ward and Sanders that come off the board, would he last to 4 or 5? If he lasts to 4 or 5, now I'm interested in making a move up to go get him. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll talk about this with Rashad Beard coming up here in about 40 minutes from now. Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News going to join us in the next segment. We'll see if there's any news on the football front for the Gamecocks, the women's basketball team as well. They got back to winning, not just winning ways, dominating ways after that disappointing loss to UConn. We'll check in with Lulu Kesson. Hayden Ask Mario from the BetMGM Network at 9 o'clock, 9:20. Fight Club with the great Malonzo as we get set for Elimination Chamber. All that coming up as the show rolls on. Before any of it, however, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, be enlightened, be entertained, be educated, be enthralled, and perhaps be aroused by Lonzo's Sports Flash.
All right, you threw me off at the last thing. I just to maybe push the wrong button there. The Clemson Tiger basketball team will retain their, I'm not all there in the head right now, position inside the top 15 with an 83-68 win over Notre Dame last night. Clemson was led by Ian Shefflin's 24 points and 9 boards, and Victor Lawkins 18 and 5. Jake Heidbreder added 14 off the bench. Clemson is on a 5-game win streak with 3 games remaining on the regular season and is 1 game back of Duke with the tiebreaker in hand. National Football League is considering to change the overtime rules moving forward, according to league executive Troy Vincent. Vincent said the competition committee is considering making the playoff overtime rules where both teams get possession, regardless of outcome of the opening possession, as opposed to current regular season rules. They're going to take the overtime rules from the playoffs and put it in the regular season. We'll see if that works. Got to call Lulu. We'll be back if the thing works, because I don't know if it works or not. We'll see.
Steven, I don't know the answer to that question. Anybody who watched that game last night and also wasn't aware of the fact that our three top players weren't there. I mean, I think some people just like to say, oh, if it's not perfect, it needs to go.
Nuh-uh.
And that's silly.
Oh, well, too late to fix it. We'll just leave it there. Why not? Maybe no one will notice. Hey, why are you sitting down? What are you doing?
No, just a little quick break. That's all.
Are you done? You all right? It's that 40 setting in.
Telling you, bro.
Daggum 40.
And off we go into the second half of the radio program. The Rob Brown Show is live.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Yes, indeed. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you, just a couple of fellas hanging out doing fella stuff, talking sports with you. The four most electrifying hours of sports talk, entertainment, available anywhere, and it only gets bigger and better as we get on the road and take a metaphorical road trip right on down to Columbia, South Carolina. That is where we find our next guest, the lovely young lady who covers the Gamecock athletic department for the Greenville News. She is Lulu Kesson, joining us here on the show. Good morning, ma'am. How do you do?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you guys? Nice to be here as always.
Nice to have you, as always, Lulu Kesson, the single most polite guest I have ever had on this radio show. I will mention. Thank you very much. Let's get into it, and we can start with, as we do, because it is the off season. It is kind of down-timey, Lulu Kesson, but I know the finger always on the pulse of the South Carolina football team. You got anything that people need to know?
Well, this isn't specific to South Carolina, but it's something that sort of a bunch of people in the college sports world or college football world are kind of discussing, is just people in schools canceling spring games or not televising them. And I want to make it clear, this is not South Carolina. I'm just speaking from a general standpoint here, but it just is definitely something that I'm kind of going back and forth about. And I was honestly curious your opinion, because part of me is like, spring game is a glorified scrimmage anyways, but the other half of me is, if coaches are really doing it because they're afraid that other teams are going to poach players and offer them more NIL money, I'm kind of just like, man, like, what are we doing here if coaches feel like they don't even have control of a glorified spring scrimmage?
You know what? It's an interesting question. It's actually something I had in line to talk about it. So I'm glad you brought it up, Lulu Kesson. Here's my thoughts on it. It is a glorified scrimmage, and it is honestly nothing more than fan service, right? Like, this is something that could be done behind closed doors in a session that media is not allowed into, and they could run the script, blah, 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 blah. Spring games have historically been a way to give fans a little tasty taste in the spring to kind of keep them hyped up for next time around, because when you send the boys out there to play each other and you're in control of everything, you can make them look real good. And I do think there is probably some element of coaches wanting to keep other teams from looking, not just because they'll offer them NIL money, but also because you're kind of showing off who your team is next year, right? Like, you can't take anybody by surprise if you've already put the plan, the blueprint out there on TV. I think, honestly, this is a fantastic way for coaches to not do something that has always been for the benefit of the fans, to not do something that has always been a tip of the cap to the fans, and to blame it on something that doesn't make it seem like, yeah, it's for you, our fan base, but we just really don't want to do it. You have created this nefarious boogeyman that you can blame canceling a fan event on, so the fans don't go, oh, I can't believe you're taking away this thing from us. Now somebody else is the bad man. Creating a boogeyman is a very effective way of doing stuff that is outside the interest of the group you are supposed to have interest in, Lulu Kesson, which is why I think, frankly, right across the road, and Shane may be in the same camp, you may know better than I do, but like Dabo Swinney earlier this week was like, yeah, we're not doing that. Like, we're not getting rid of it. I think just on the flip side, that's a like tip of the cap to the fans. This is for you. We're doing the thing for you. I think it's a boogeyman for other coaches to be able to say, we could do all this behind closed doors. We don't want to put our blueprint out there on tape, but it's not because we don't love you fans. It's because the bad guys are out there.
Yeah, and just to speak to South Carolina quickly, like from my understanding, like there's still a spring game. We have a date. It's not anything specific to the program that has made me kind of question any of this, but I hear what you're saying entirely, and I agree. And it's definitely a way, I think, for some coaches to play on the paranoia of college football fans in 2025, because there's certainly fans that would do anything because they're so worried about star players leaving for other schools.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And listen, I'm not saying that that's not a genuine, legitimate concern. It very clearly is. But I would also make the argument that the less tape you put out there, obviously it doesn't help that, but again, if Shane Beamer goes out there and he puts a couple of things in there to let Nick Harbor go out and look like a star to rouse up the fan base, there's also other defensive coordinators across the SEC that are watching that spring game tape and going, we better focus on this guy a little bit. I've said this for many years, even before this was a conversation, Lulu. There's no benefit to spring games being public for the schools other than giving their fans a little red meat to be excited about before we enter the long summer hibernation period.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, we've got some basketball to pay attention to here, Lulu Kesson. We will start with the fact that the Gamecocks, after their loss to UConn a couple of weeks ago, they kind of figured it out a little bit, and obviously we know that it's college basketball. Weirdness can happen. Since that loss to UConn, a 40-point win over Arkansas, what should have been a 30-point win on the road at Vanderbilt, back-to-back blowouts. Now a couple left. On the road at Ole Miss tonight, back home for Kentucky on the 2nd. Which is your overall view on this basketball team since they took that beating at the hands of the Huskies?
It's very similar to sort of how they played, I think, after the UCLA loss, which was another sort of big, bad loss in November. I honestly think it had been so long since South Carolina almost won. And I think that's sort of why when they lost to Texas, they lost so soon after to UConn. And I just think it didn't register in the same way that, the UConn loss and UCLA loss did. So in the last two games, I've just seen a more, I think, confident South Carolina offense. A huge part against UConn was that no one wanted to be the first one to attack the basket. Everyone was very passive on offense. So I think as of late, I'm just seeing a very aggressive offense and a team that is kind of creating its own shots and not just sitting back and waiting to see what the defense gives it.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think the aggression was something that the last two teams to come through this school very much had, and I did not see it. I'll tell you another spot, and I think this is a spot that manifests. Having Joyce Edwards and having Malaysia Fulwiley coming off the bench, if both of these girls taking advantage of the minutes they're getting. Fulwiley had, I think just about 20 minutes in both of the last two games. Edwards getting 19 to 24 in both of the last two games. But they have been the leading scorer for this team coming off the bench the last couple of games. Having those two young ladies that are able to step in a second team role and play like first teamers, I think kind of relieve the pressure on Chloe Kitts and Bree Hall and some of the other starters to kind of free them up a little bit as first team players.
Definitely. And I think that everybody on this team is still almost figuring out their role. And I know that might be alarming to some fans who are like, how can they not know their identity on this team by the last week of the regular season? But when you think about it, when you have when you look at the programs and the program and the teams that Dawn has had in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a very clear leader, or leaders, I should say. Whereas Dawn has been very forward that, for example, Sanaya Fagan this year, it took a second for her to realize, okay, I'm not just on the bench behind two of the greatest forwards to ever come through the program. Like, I'm starting now. and Sanaa is adjusting to that. You have the oldest player in Te-Hina Paopao who's only been here for 2 years because she transferred. So naturally, I think not having that number one, and again, like I'm not saying leader in any sense of better than anyone else basketball-wise. I just mean obvious person who, when Dawn doesn't call a timeout, they're going to be the one that talks things over on the court and brings everyone together. I think Dawn right now has about 4 or 5 players that almost do that. And so especially after a loss, it's sort of very obvious. But when you're winning, it's kind of like, oh, we have nothing to fix, or, oh, this isn't an issue. But when you lose, it definitely highlights maybe some gaps. And I don't want to put words in Dawn's mouth at all, but she did say last year they had blemishes. They just had different types of blemishes than they're having this year. And I think potentially just not having that 1 or 2 sole, on the court voices that everybody looks up to might just be something that in these losses, Dawn's like, all right, this is different.
Yeah, I think when you look back and you talk about the Asia Wilsons and you talk about the Aaliyah Bostons and you talk about some of these players that have gone on to become WNBA greats, and they were clearly that vocal leader, I worried about that coming into the year because you don't really have that one player. Basketball is an interesting team sport to me, Lulu Kesson, and I don't know how you feel. This is more of a philosophy of basketball questions. I think teams are better when they have a superstar, when they have that one guy. LeBron with the Lakers, Luka with the Mavs, obviously with the Lakers now, Anthony Edwards with the Timberwolves if we're looking on the pro side, Caitlin Clark with the Fever if we're looking at the women's side, Asia Wilson. When you have that one player that you go, this is the core, this is the leader, this is the star, and everybody else around them kind of understands that, I think it's easier to find a role when you don't have that one player. I feel like maybe it adds some pressure to other players. This is the first year in a while that South Carolina doesn't have that clear, this is the person we play to and through. Everybody's kind of got to pick up that responsibility. I wonder if maybe that is the source of the, I don't want to say lack of identity of this program, but the delay in finding it maybe.
That's a great point. And I definitely think, especially on offense, I do buy into the idea that Dawn says it's a strength that teams have to scout for basically all 13 players on her team. Like, I do believe basically having 1 or 2, or I guess in the beginning of the year especially, it did really feel like it could be anyone's night. That was kind of like, you would talk to Te-Hina Paopao after she had 23 points, and she was just like, I had the hot hand tonight. It could be any of us. My teammates fed me the ball. There's strengths to that. But exactly to your point, I think that it's also contagious when you see your teammate heating up, and when you're looking at your teammate being like, all right, I want to feed off of them. So when you kind of have a bunch of players that aren't really sure, like, okay, who's it going to be tonight? You get that maybe passive, confused energy, because it's great that it could be anyone. But at the same time, before tip-off, you also kind of want to know who you're able to kind of work with, build off of, build that contagious energy. Like you said, there's not the Juju Watkins on the court that's going to come out and drop 40 almost on the regular.
We are watching it now with just a few, actually 2 games left to go. As we mentioned, tonight on the road at Ole Miss, then back home on March 2nd against number 15 Kentucky as a season finale. The Gamecocks heavily favored in this one this evening. What do you, Lulu Kesson, want to see out of Dawn Staley's Gamecocks tonight for a team that is currently tied for first place in the Southeastern Conference with Texas? What would you want to see tonight before they have their final ranked matchup of the year on the 2nd against Kentucky to make you feel like they are building momentum in the right direction, moving towards the conference tournament here in Greenville?
So that's funny because, we asked Dawn that yesterday, and Dawn's like, I just want to win. I don't care if it's an ugly win. It's just about winning. And I was like, I respect your honesty there because it's true. They need to go 2-0 this week. But to actually answer your question, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but obviously offensively a little cleaner from the starters specifically. I do think that the trend is, Joyce, Malaysia come in the game and the offense picks up, and I'm just sort of being nitpicky about that because come tournament time, you never know who's going to be in foul trouble and going to be on the court. And so if South Carolina starters can't prove that they can, just continuously play at the level they have this season, like how they did against Texas round 1 or Oklahoma. But I also think another area is transition defense. A lot of those UConn threes were in transition, and South Carolina is just going to play a bunch of different teams in the SEC tournament. And then obviously if they're fortunate and make a long run in the March Madness tournament, like you're going to face teams of all different speeds and sizes. So just being able to defend in transition is going to be huge. And Ole Miss is a confusing team. They're really, really strong on defense, but basically can't score. So it's going to be a little bit tricky to see South Carolina's, offense right out the start because Ole Miss holds teams to the second lowest scoring in the SEC right behind Texas. But at the same time, South Carolina doesn't have it, only has 2 chances left before the SEC tournament to improve what's been some slow offensive starts.
Lulu Kesson covers the South Carolina Athletic Department for the Greenville News and is kind enough to join us every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock to talk some Gamecock ball. Lulu Kesson knows ball. And as always, we appreciate it. You are the best, ma'am. Thank you very much. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk to you next week as we roll on towards the tournaments.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to go back and clip just the part of when you said Lulu Kesson knows ball because I love saying that because I do think I know basketball, but now I have someone else told me that. So I'll clip that. But thank you. Have a good rest of your weekend.
I can't
Great
pay
to
a
talk to you
higher
guys.
compliment than to say you know ball and you know ball. Thank you, Lulu Kesson. We'll talk to you next week. Lulu Kesson on X, LULUKESIN. Phenomenal follow if you are a Gamecock fan, without a doubt.
You just bestowed Noah a ball. You just don't do that. That is a great honor.
She knows ball. What do you want me to say?
It doesn't happen very often that is bestowed on anyone. So, I mean.
I don't hand out a ball cap very often because it is earned, not given. You don't just get handed a ball tag. You gotta prove ball. And Lulu Kesson knows ball, without a doubt. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got plenty more we need to get to, including some more NFL free agency talk. Adam Schefter has had some things to say over the last couple of days. Mel Kiper with his draft rankings have dropped. We'll talk some NFL. I thought the conversation about spring games being canceled by a lot of programs that Lulu Kesson brought up, I think we probably need to get into that too. And I think that we will as we roll on. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate. All right, dude, stepping away for just a minute. Y'all stay right there. Be right back. Lulu Keston of the Greenville News joining us in the last segment. Appreciate her time as always. And on top of that, as happens, Lulu said, hey, I got a question for you. Talking about the cancellation of spring games across the college football landscape. Here are some of the teams that we know that have canceled their spring games for this season. Texas, Steve Sarkisian, said that the physical demands of extended seasons and the need to adapt to changes in college football are the reasons he's canceling their spring game. The USC Trojans have canceled their game. They have said instead they are going to hold a fan appreciation event that will include current and former players. Matt Rule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers, they were actually the first ones, or at least the first major program that announced that they were canceling their spring game. Matt Rule was the one who said, hey, look, we don't want to showcase our players, only to have other schools start to jump up and grab them with NIL incentives and put them in the portal early. Florida State has canceled their spring game. They blamed it on ongoing stadium construction. The Mizzou Tigers have not only canceled their spring game, but Eli Drinkwitz and co. have said that they are canceling all spring practice sessions being open to the public. They will obviously practice in the spring, but you will see none of them if you are a fan. Dave Doran has decided with two new coordinators that he is canceling their spring game and will keep all practice details private. There are some other schools that are in the process of having the discussion. Texas and Texas A&M both, Houston as well. Here's where I've kind of landed on this scenario. I get it. And I think I think everything that has been mentioned as a reason is very valid. But here's what it boils down to for me. The spring games are nothing more than a tip of the cap to the fans. It is an opportunity for the school and for the businesses around the stadiums to make a little extra cash money. They get to sell some tickets. They get to bring you in to buy some T-shirts and some cold beers and tailgate and hit the watering holes around the stadium, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But spring games are nothing more than a tip of the cap to your fan base. And it is obviously important to keep your fan base happy. But the fan base is not, as it was a very, very long time ago in the world of college footy, unless you are a small school. For the big schools, Texas, Georgia, Florida State, et cetera, et cetera. The fan base isn't your primary money maker anymore. Television is. A spring game, in reality, does little to nothing to help a program. It doesn't drive your program forward. At least not any more than doing the exact same thing, but keeping it completely closed to the media and to the fans would. It is, if anything, shocking to me only that it took this long for schools to start saying there's no point to a spring game. Do I think that Matt Rule is telling the truth when he says we don't want to display or highlight our players because other schools are going to be watching and they're going to make the call? I think there's probably some element of truth to that. I also believe when Florida State says it's because of construction. It is. Docus Campbell Stadium is adding 100 some odd luxury seats. It's only costing them like 5,000 regular people seats because keeping the rich boosters happy is more important than keeping your everyday fans happy.
Keep that NIL money flowing.
Bing, got to keep absolutely. I'll tell you right now, if a football team believed that they could get rid of every Joe Blow seat and install mega booster seats everywhere around the stadium and sell every one of those for $10,000 a season instead of a $3,000 season ticket, they would do it in a heartbeat. College football is just a business like any other business. So the spring games going away is unsurprising. Do I think that all of these coaches have a point, are correct? To some degree, yeah. I also do think that Matt Rule, for instance, may very well have a point, but also I think coaches just don't want to do them. And again, why would you? Why would you? Why would you want to put your best players on display unnecessarily, even if forget the NIL and the portal? You're just giving away your secret weapons, right? You're just giving away who your guys are. You're just giving away who your athletes are. Even if you mix up the squad a little bit, teams are going to get a pretty good idea of like, oh, that guy had a killer spring game. We might want to have to game plan for him a little bit. You're giving the secrets away unnecessarily. And so when I am evaluating these teams that have decided to cancel their spring game, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. Sure, it's going to make my job a little tougher because it was always nice to be able to come in here the week after spring games and go, okay, we watched the spring game and this guy looked good and that guy looked good and this coordinator was doing this and we saw some new strategies and tactics and all that. Was great for me as a host. It's great for you as fans to get to go eyeballs on, but it doesn't really help the team all that much. And if it did help the team, they could do the exact same thing, get the exact same results, and not show a damn person what they were doing by moving it behind closed doors. All this comes down to is coaches are finding excuses or boogeymen to prop up so that they don't have to do a thing that they never wanted to do in the first place and not say, yeah, we know the fans love these and we know they've been a tradition in college football for a long time, but we just don't want to do it anyway.
Rob, the anti-traditionalist, he just absolutely hates tradition, so he's okay with tradition going away. He's all for these games going bye-bye. And there are people out there who cannot wait every year to go to the spring game so they can get an eye on the product to see what their team's going to do, because it's a legitimate way to scout how your team's going to be the following year or that same year.
It's like it's like you don't listen to anything
Dude,
I say.
I am being sarcastic. Here's a problem.
Okay, just making
Here's
sure.
the problem with you standing up. You cannot see my face unless you're looking at the screen, and you don't really do that.
I do, but you're real little.
Yeah. I'm just I have no problem with them getting rid of spring games because they're not even real scrimmages. They're glorified scrimmages.
Yeah.
They're using generic plays. Yeah, the guys get to hit each other, but you can't hit the quarterback. I mean, there's just it's just not, in practice, quarterback gets hit some. They
a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, things happen. It will not happen in the spring game though, or you might be off the team. It's just I don't care. And I know there are people out there who really, really do care. And I think the teams that keep it around, cool. The teams that don't, good for them.
Yeah. It comes down to this. Spring games are a fan event. They're for you. They're for the fans. They don't do anything for the football program. They don't help. They don't push anything forward. And if they did, you could do them behind closed doors and not give away a secret.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of when the Panthers were here before Stinkin' Tepper took them away from South Carolina, which means they're no longer two states, one team. And going and seeing that. It's basically the same thing. It's a fan fest. Spring games are fan fest.
Sure. They are fan fest. They are for you. They are for the fans. But what these coaches are realizing is ain't none of y'all walking away from your favorite college football team because they're not having a spring game. But they also don't want to say, you know what, even though we know it matters to you, even though we know you care about these things, even though we know you love these things, they're bad. And we're not going to do them. If they just put it out that way, it would almost sound like they don't care about the fans. So what do you have to do? You got to blame someone or something else. You got to create a boogeyman and say, oh, not only do we not want to do them, we can't do them because of this bad thing, and we can't do them because of these bad things.
By the way,
so be mad at the bad thing, not me.
You can't say that those things are not a possibility as far as Sky and
I have already said
things like that.
They absolutely are.
I'm curious. Do people tailgate spring games?
I have back in the day.
So maybe it's a chance to put out the new gear that you're going to have for this year and test it out, see what works, see what doesn't.
For instance, USC as I said back to open up this segment, USC has already said we're going to do a fan appreciation event in the summertime. And we're going to have our current players come out, and we're going to have some former players come out, and we're going to do a big party. All of the things that a spring game accomplishes, you can accomplish in different ways. You can put out selected practice media for your fans to be engaged in. You can create fan events to sell the merch. You can bring out old play. Could you imagine a Clemson, instead of a Clemson spring game, if they had a Clemson fan appreciation day? And instead of going into that stadium when it's hotter than Hades, undersides out there, and sitting in that stadium to watch a glorified scrimmage where you know they're showing you 8% of what they're going to do, instead, let's go down to the stadium. The whole current team's going to be there. We're going to bring back Nuke, and we're going to bring back TL16, and we're going to bring back all the Clemson Tigers in the NFL, and we're going to bring back some legends, and we're going to have Dabo and CJ out there.
Not Deshaun, though. Probably
not Deshaun, probably not Deshaun.
But
But everybody else. And you can get autographs and take pictures. I would be more excited about that than a spring game if we're keeping it a buck, right? So get away from this old traditional thing that is not just doesn't help the team, but actually can be a negative for the team. But you don't want to say we're doing it because it doesn't matter to us, even though you love it. So you create the external boogeyman to blame it on somebody and something else, and then you do something that doesn't hurt your team. I don't care. Is what this whole segment comes down to is I don't care. You know what I do care about? Talking Carolina Panther football with Rashad Beard when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
It's still
Step it away for just a minute while I get Rashad set up. We'll be right back.
still toasty.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the fan upstate, Rob the Great One Lonzo, and joining us now, as he does on Thursdays at 8:40 a.m. to talk Carolina Panther football. He is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. If you're a Big Cat fan, it's the spot to go for all your Carolina news, talk, and opinions. The legendary Rashad Beard joining us on the show. What's up, big dog?
What's going on, guys? Feeling good, man. Everything's great over here.
I'm glad to hear it. Abdul Carter, if he falls to 5, trade up for him, yes or no?
Trade up. I don't know about trade up, but
not 1-2, but like if he falls to 5 with this injury, like you move up 3 spots, I'd give away a couple of late picks for it.
Yeah, I mean, I strongly consider it. I mean, he's talented for sure, and I'm seeing the red flag. I had to put out an alert to teams. Please don't draft him in numbers top 7. Not worth it. So just leave him alone. Let him fall to 8, and I think we would definitely take him. I don't know about trading up, but yeah, I think there's going to be some good talent there at number 8 for sure.
What if somebody 6, 7, maybe somebody sitting around there and they're kind of like you guys, like we want to take the Eagles model, we want to stock up, we want to get a bunch of linemen, build from the middle out, yada yada yada. We're willing to move back because we don't need a D lineman, and we'll take 2/6 to move up 2 spots. You come on, dude, you're in. This guy's a stud.
Yeah. Of course, yeah, it's going to take a little bit more than that, but yeah, if it's 2/6, I would definitely do that in a heartbeat. But yeah, I think it's going to cost a little bit more than that.
All right, Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Do you think that strategy is one Carolina adapts? Like I've said a couple of times, the Eagle strategy, like the Eagle philosophy, I'm taking it now. We're done with the Belichick model. We're all moving to the Sirianni model, the Howie Roseman model. And I've said a couple of times, I don't think there's a team this year in the NFL draft that would benefit more from, and more importantly, is more capable, because you guys need O&D linemen on both sides of the football right now. I don't think there's a team that can more successfully adopt that model than the Carolina Panthers. What is the overall draft strategy for the boys this year?
Man, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of needs. Like there's not one need. That's the thing about this team and the way it's set up. We got a lot of needs. So we can take what comes to us. There's no need for us to reach and go grab somebody. You could check a lot of boxes all across this draft. This is a very strong defensive draft. So this draft is very strong in places that we are weak. So you got to be patient. Just be patient. If we don't grab an edge rusher in the first round, don't panic. There's plenty of edge rushers in the second or third round. If we don't grab a cornerback in the first round, don't panic. There's going to be a cornerback later. So just sit back, take what's coming to you, and there's going to be some talent that falls. You just like you brought up this morning, Abdul Carter with his injury, and whatever's going to happen with that, what's going to happen is he's likely going to fall to a team like the Eagles or the Chiefs, and the rich will continue to get richer because that's what happens, right? They're sitting back and they're being patient. They're not going to go grab and trade up. Just sit back and be patient. Let's see what happens.
So if I asked you to lay out your draft philosophy, right? If it's hey, just defense, if it's lineman or whatever, if I asked you to kind of like describe the draft philosophy coming into this thing this year, what would you say it is?
BPA. I know it's easy to say it, but just take the best player available according to your board. Obviously, every board is going to look different, but you got to take BPA, man. Just be patient. Be patient. Take the best player on your board and just stack talent. If you can trade back, acquire more picks. But, if there's multiple guys that you're looking at and they're sitting there and you could trade back a couple of spots and still get a guy, then let's trade back. And we've seen that over the past couple of years with the Panthers, albeit it's not quite working out the best with some of the guys that we're picking up. But I do like that approach because we need more opportunities at bat. You need to get as many picks as possible so that you can stack this talent. And again, don't have a lot of guys to re-sign. Obviously, J.C. Horn extension talks are coming up. But the more guys you can get on a rookie deal, the better. And you start to develop them. Like you just mentioned with the Eagles, they have a lot of talent on defense that is starting early, right? And because they're playing on rookie deals, it just makes sense. So, again, draft more cracks at the whip, get more opportunities, trade back if you can, and just be patient, BPA. Very simple.
So my thought on the debate we have every year, Rashad, which is BPA versus need, right? Do you go with BPA or do you go with the best guy at your biggest need in every round? My answer has always been kind of combination of both, right? Like there's no need to go all in on BPA or go all in on board and needs and whatever. You gotta take a crack at both. I think for you guys this year, I am leaning more on the trade back if it's available way, right? Like I'm going with board, and I would lean towards board with need. But I also think stockpiling this year, would you be willing to move back a handful of times? Maybe you only leave this draft with like 4 or 5 players, but you got like 12 or 13 picks in next year's draft. It is a good defensive draft, not a great offensive draft. Would you be willing to leave this draft with like 4 or 5 players, but you are absolutely loaded with picks for next year if that opportunity presents itself?
No, I'm not okay with that. I think we need guys now. You can't continue to wait and delay the Bryce Young window. We're in year 3, right? So you have to start taking advantage. So I'm cool with trading back for multiple picks in this year's draft. The future, okay, if you grab some, that's fine. But 4 or 5 picks in this draft, to me, would not be acceptable. We have 9 right now. And so I would like to see a few more than that, maybe. But again, the opportunity has to be there. I'm not saying trade back for the sake of trading back. If the opportunity presents itself with your board and you have multiple guys that you're looking at, and I'm not saying trade completely out of the rounds, right? Make sure that you're still able to get the guys that you need based on your board, and just continue to stack players. But moving completely out 4 guys in this draft, no, I can't get with that one.
Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast joins us every Thursday at 8:40 here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Have you heard anything, whether it's from Canales, whether it's Morgan? Obviously, the combine underway up in Indianapolis right now. We're starting to see the GMs, the presidents, the coaches starting to get in front of the media, in front of the microphones. You heard anything so far from the combine, or maybe in the last week since we've talked to you, that is triggered anything? Because I've heard a couple of the Canales interviews, heard a couple of the Morgan interviews, and they seem to be playing it relatively close to the vest, which good.
Yeah, I think that it's they're not giving away too much, but you have to look a little bit deeper than what they're telling you, Rob. You gotta look at the actions of the team, and a couple of things that have occurred over the past couple of weeks lend me to think that they're going to be doing some things in this draft. Case in point, Dane Jackson was just released. We're letting Shaq Thompson walk. There's a couple of other guys testing the market, like Tommy Tremble, and then you hear Canales, talk about Tyler Warren, who was the great tight end in this draft. I'm not saying we're going to take Tyler Warren at 8, but I do think we're going to be taking a tight end somewhere in this draft. And with Shaq walking, there's a lot of talk around Jalen Walker right now, and him potentially being the guy. Him being a Carolina guy, all his family being in North Carolina, South Carolina. I think, to me, if you had to make me pick a guy, and that's going to be the Carolina Panthers pick, whether it's 8 or trading back, I think it's probably going to be Jalen Walker right now. Way too early, obviously way, way, way too early. But Jalen Walker seems to be the guy all signs are pointing to right now in my brain.
Believe, Lonzo, correct me if I'm wrong, that's who Mel Kiper Jr. has y'all taking in his mock right now, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. So it's on the radar, and I don't have any issue with that. Speaking of Shaq, before we kind of get back to draft talk, that's one of those that, like, man, emotionally it sucks, right? That dude's been a stalwart. He's been a big part of the team. He's been a leader. One of 2 guys left from the last Super Bowl roster. Like, it hurts to watch a guy like Shaq walk. My man's played 6 games in 2 years. He's been busted up. The injury bug is vicious at this point. Sometimes, Rashad, we got to take a kick in the nads to remind us this is the business more than anything else. It sucks, but it was the right call.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely sucks, but it certainly was the right call. I commend Canales and Morgan for making this decision, right? Because it is a tough decision. A guy's been around for the Carolina Panthers for a long time, and he's a leader in that locker room too. He's not just a guy. He is a leader on the defensive side of football, and to let him walk was a tough decision. But ultimately, you have to make those type of decisions to move forward and progress the team. You can't just keep around guys for the sake of keeping around guys. And I said this oftentimes on my channel is, hey, you can't get connected to these guys individually. Like, I like a lot of players on the team. I'm a huge fan of Jalen Coker. But at the end of the day, I got to be okay with them moving on from him because it's a business. It's a business at the end of the day, and you got to move on. You got to do what's best for the team. And, again, shout out to Shaq, man, but he's definitely, hater mode. If he goes to one of those teams, will be activated for him. And that's just the name of the game.
Certified hater mode. Certified hater mode coming out. Rashad Beard joining us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. You mentioned Eddie Pinheiro, Xavier Woods, Tommy Tremble all being allowed to test the market. Is this a cap move decision? Is this a player quality decision? And are there any of those guys that you're kind of hoping maybe they're in the market for him that you want back?
Yeah, that's a great question. Eddie Pinheiro, I think, is a guy that we can move on from. I think he held out a little bit last year trying to get a new contract. So, I mean, his performance is very mid, and he's an okay kicker. Anything inside the 40, he's okay. But when the game is on the line, sometimes he does tend to fold. But again, Eddie Pinheiro, I can live with that. We can move on from him. Xavier Woods is another guy that I do like. However, I think we can do better, and I think that's what Dan Morgan is sending the signal to. He's like, hey guys, you guys are solid, but we can do better. And I think that's what we're trying to do here. Tommy Tremble, I really do like. He's a friend of the show. We had him on the show before. He's a guy that has developed year over year over year. His hands were bricks when he first got here. He's got better and better, and so I do hope he stays around. I think he has some untapped potential that we have yet to tap into. He can carry the football. He did it at Notre Dame, fullback, QB sneaks, things like that. He can do that, those type of things. And we just never got around to it. So I would like to see Tommy Tremble back. But I also think, respectfully, we can do better than the Tommy Tremble. So allowing these guys to test the market is the right move. So I'm okay with this. I'm absolutely okay with trying to get better in those positions, especially tight end and safety.
We found out that, and I say we found out, we knew Xavier had to get some work done. We knew it. He said it during the end of the regular season. He did have a surgery. Dave Canales said he does not know if he's going to be back and available for OTAs coming up here. We're 58 days, I think, away from the draft, and then OTAs start just a couple of weeks after that. The only thing I've been saying, Rashad, I don't know where you land on it, chill the hell out. He needed it. He needed it. I think you could see that it was starting to drag on him a little bit towards the end of the season. You got to go find a number one somewhere. But even if you do, I still want XL fully healthy. Relax. Let my man have a minute to rehab and get right. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. I think people got to pump the brakes on XL. It is year one for him. And so we gotta pump the brakes. I know people are going out and they're seeing other rookies be successful, and they're like, "Hey, we're stuck with this guy who's often banged up, can't catch the football." But it is year one. It's year one. Give him a little bit of a break. Now, one thing I will say is that where he did get surgery on was his foot. That's not the wrist, right? The wrist was what all the talk was about throughout the entire season, which was impacting his ability to catch the football, allegedly, right? And so, what's going on with him, we don't know. But hopefully he got the surgery, and hopefully it'll get better, and we'll see him in OTAs and mini camps and all that stuff, and he'll continue to get better throughout the season.
Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I don't want to bring it up, but I got to. What the hell's your boy Steve Smith Sr. doing? What are we doing, Steve? What are we doing?
None of my business, man. I stay out of players' personal business, bro. As much as I would like to talk about it, I kind of stay out of that lane. This ain't TMZ, bro. I don't get in those woods.
I respect it. We do, but I respect you not doing it. That's the right play. Right play. What's going to be the pick? What's going to be the pick? Call it now. Put it on the radar now. Rashad Beard with the 8th pick. The Carolina Panthers select.
I got to, as of right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind, but I'm going Jalen Walker. I'm going Jalen Walker, the guy that is from the Carolinas. That's where I'm sticking with, and he's not going to perform at the combine, so that kind of sucks. He's sitting that one out, and I respect it. After speaking with the agent, I did have the opportunity to interview an NFL agent with Wasserman and with Wasserman Group, and that's one of the things that did come up is advising their clients to say, hey man, hey listen, we're good. We don't have to go out there and perform at the combine, and I think that is also one of the check marks in my box to say, hey, the Carolina Panthers are looking at Walker. He's already got it. They've already made the calls. These things are already in the bag. We already know where he's going. There's no need to go out there and run hard and exert too much energy because I already got the call. So that's where I'm rocking with right now, Jalen Walker.
I'm so tired of fans beating up on players who say I'm not working out at the combine. But if you're a top 10 pick, working out at the combine can't help you. Right? We've got the tape. We saw you play in college ball. Y'all got to lay off top 10 picks who don't want to work out. I would rather watch the cone shuttle drill of a dude my team's thinking about in the 6th round than the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a business decision. Those guys, some of those guys don't have to. And the good thing about the combine is that this is the opportunity for other guys, like you said, these guys that play at smaller schools to get up there and compete on the same level as these big time school guys. And so you'll see some guys that will increase their draft stock in the combine. And that's the dope part about it. And that's what I'm looking for in the combine, not the top 10 guys. They're already done. They're good. They know where they're going to go. We don't need to see them. It's the other guys I'm worried about.
Cannot wait to go home today and watch a bunch of college dudes run drills. It's going to be one of the best days of the year. Rashad Beard hosts the Panther Nation podcast. It ain't TMZ, baby. They're talking ball every single day on the show. My man, appreciate you as always, big fella. Enjoy the combine.
Hey, man, appreciate that. Yes, it's draft season. Let's get it. I'm excited.
I'm here for it. Rashad Beard, legend. Follow him on X at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, hit up the YouTube channel. Make sure you are liked up, subscribed up, hit the bell, because I suspect the boys are going to be going live a lot over the next couple of weeks.
For sure. A lot of content coming.
My guy, Rashad Beard. Now, my guy, Lonzo, with a sports flash.
Ain't your guy? My own guy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Guy.
Okay.
Hey, guy. I'm not your guy.
Sure, whatever.
The Clemson Tiger basketball team will retain their position inside the top 15 with an 83-68 win over Notre Dame last night. Clemson was led by Ian Shefflin's 24 points and 9 boards, and Victor Locken's 18 and 5. Jake Heidbreder, that's what I'm going with, added 14 off the bench. I can't ask Rob because there's no way he can pronounce it. Clemson is on a 5-game win streak with 3 games remaining at the regular season and is 1 game back of Duke with the tiebreaker in hand. Day after Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter stated he wouldn't work out at the draft, a report surfaced saying the potential top 5 pick could need surgery on a stress fracture in his foot, so he's not going to work out at the draft. At the combine. Tune in Saturday at 1:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Wofford Terriers. It's Furman versus Wofford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. I missed that opportunity, Joey. I absolutely did. Oh, that looks like a lot. That's because I didn't. Okay. Oh, headache. So if you are a member of the Armada and you're out and about and just say hanging with Rob Brown, or you see Rob Brown somewhere and he says, buddy, make sure that you make a big deal out of buddy. I just thought of another buddy that I could get. Gotta remember to do that. Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? Okay. All right, hang on, Craig.
Oh.
So how much longer does that chair last?
Not your buddy, guy. Not your guy, pal. Not your pal, friend. How long does it last? Like in here?
Oh no, because
before it just dies.
Because you almost killed it there, and it's. I don't think that was you. I think that was the chair. So. Mario.
I've sent him the invitation. Oh, you're a hoodie guy now?
It is Antarctica in my apartment for some reason.
It is what?
Antarctica.
Oh.
Yeah. I woke up this morning and I was literally shivering.
You are inside, correct?
Yes, I am inside.
Has Washington, D.C. not figured out the discovery of indoor heating?
Okay, we can talk about it, but the indoor heating in DC we gotta figure it out. Something's wrong here.
You know, you still had long hair. You wouldn't need to wear that beanie. I'm just saying, because your head would be warm.
It's a fair point. That is a fair point. Fact or fiction, that is a fact.
That is a correct reaction. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The fourth, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts now. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you, 60 more minutes of the most electrifying sports talk entertainment you're going to find anywhere at any time except maybe BetMGM tonight, which airs from 7 to 11 p.m. every single weekday right here on this and fine Odyssey stations nationwide. That show is produced, directed, choreographed, and stunts performed by the executive producer of that show. He is a friend on and off the air. We call him Hating Ass Mario Herron from the BetMGM Network joins us here on the show. What's up, fella?
Happy birthday. The big 3-0. It's never looked better.
Yeah.
You got a golf
30,
club now.
30 looks good on me.
Yeah, you're in a college shirt. Looks like you're just life's turning around.
Yeah, I thought finally
All
at
right,
30, life's turning around.
I will not allow this to happen. It's 40. It's not 30. And you are a member of the AARP Nation along with me now. 30 you wouldn't be, but 40 you are. And the degradation has started. He's grunting a little more when he's sitting down. He became very organized this morning. Just suddenly everything put in its place. It was really weird.
The Madre came into town to surprise me for the birthday yesterday, and we went out to dinner last night, Mario, and I'm only saying this because I know you'll laugh at it. We sat down. We had a lovely dinner. We went to leave. We stood up to leave, and as I stood up, the mom's like, uh-oh, and I went, uh-oh, what? And she said, you had to do the thing to stand up where I had to put both hands on my thighs and push myself up off of myself to stand up. And not only did that, but on the way up went, as I stood up. And she's like, is that the first time you've done that? I was like, I haven't noticed it yet. And the wife goes, no, it is. So it's all downhill from here, buddy. We had a good run. Everything was great. I am now officially closer to death than birth. That's what I've decided.
Oh, no, you're not closer to death than birth. You're about halfway.
He is. He's on, according to expectancy, which I believe we checked was
77 and a half now. Yeah. So and on the way down.
Yeah, he's definitely on the other side.
It's on the way down.
Yeah. We are, I believe, if I recall correctly, the only first world country with a declining natural life expectancy now. We're doing great. Everybody's awesome, and I'm now closer to that than being born.
See, I can already see the end zone. So, I mean, at least you're not that far.
That's
Lonzo putting the end in end zone.
It's always green in the end zone, though.
Hating Ass Mario joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Hey, speaking of closer to the end of the beginning, where's Aaron Rodgers going to be? Is he going to be one of them LA Rams at the end of the year? Does he complete the Brett Favre imitation tour and end up in Minnesota? Or does the league decide maybe we're done with this cat?
I hope someone decides that we're done with him. And the Rams, too. We were talking about this last night on BetMGM tonight with Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath, 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern on the BetMGM Network. It doesn't make sense for the Rams to just get off Stafford. You were the closest team to take out the Super Bowl champs this year. Why are you going to go into next year taking away the QB that got you there? That's also won you a Super Bowl, especially at his age where it looks like he has a lot left in the tank. And let's be honest, at this point in his career, not overall, but at this point in his career, he is a lot better than Aaron Rodgers, and he comes with a lot less drama. Matthew Stafford doesn't go on ESPN once a week and say some crazy stuff on the biggest show in sports media.
That's
that causes
true. But
headlines.
wait a minute. I'm going to push back a bit. Kelly Stafford has a pod, and when they let Cooper Kupp walk a couple of weeks ago, she caused some bleep on her pod going out there. I honestly think it's not Matt that's going on the McAfee show talking smack, but I think his wife has created a little bit of baggage there, and I wonder if that's playing into it a little bit.
Counter to that, though, when that whole thing happened, what was the news cycle that week? It was pretty dead, right?
Sure.
Anything catches. And especially in football.
I just want to point out for all the people who, like you guys, who are anti-Aaron Rodgers guys, there's a lot of people out there who are pro-Aaron Rodgers guys.
No, you're missing the point. It ain't about the takes on the McAfee pod. It's that he's not good at football anymore.
And it's do you want all this baggage that comes with Rodgers? Do you want it as soon as I get him, I have to sign Devontae Adams if I know he's a good player, but if I don't sign him, I'm already off to a bad foot. Are you already gonna have a little pity party for yourself come training camp? I don't want to have to deal with all that stuff.
It's fair.
And he's old.
And he's
what hit? What hit? He could be down.
So if he does get signed and brings along Devontae and wins the Super Bowl, will you come back on here and apologize, both of you?
Sure, but
Yeah.
what were the Jets?
Because I will remember.
But
I just want you to know that.
I'll go with your line of thinking. What was the Jets' record the last 2 years? Because I'm pretty sure they didn't go to a Super Bowl, and they had Devontae.
Yeah, Lonzo, like if I,
Yeah, the only people that go to Super Bowls are Kansas City and then somebody else. A very few other people.
What's more likely? Aaron Rodgers goes to the Rams and win a Super Bowl, or I start dating Sydney Sweeney? Like, let's just be honest here.
I'm trying to think age range as far as Sydney Sweeney goes.
Oh, Mario's
my age. It's my
Mario's
age.
in the age
I
range.
was going
But
to say, you got a good possibility of doing that.
look at this half-ass dollar store
I think you got a
Justin
chance,
Bieber
dude.
look, though.
I think you got a chance.
That
You
dollar store Bieber.
You look like Justin Bieber, but before the bad tattoos.
Yeah. Okay. That's not a bad one.
You're not even pushing
I'll eat
back about that.
Bieber's done pretty well for himself. So,
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
true.
that went back right at you. At 40, you gotta stay sharper. You
Yeah, you
gotta
do.
get on the
Yeah, you
creatine.
absolutely
You gotta
do.
take some Lions, man.
Wow.
You gotta stay sharper than the dome.
I'm all right, buddy. I'm all
I
right.
got a guy.
Hey, I'm hosting your show 3 days next week, pal. You might want to slow your roll just a bit, is all I'm saying. All right?
Next thing you know, Rob's doing Total Tea commercials.
Yeah. You and
Me
Doug
and the big
Flutie.
hurt Frank Thomas, baby.
And she'll like it too.
Hating
So
ass.
creepy.
Oh, yeah, like that.
That's-
That's getting pulled.
yeah, I hate
That's
that.
getting pulled for a clip. Hating ass Mario joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Sam Darnold is, I think, probably the other big linchpin in this whole quarterback carousel we're waiting on. If I'm Minnesota, I'm definitely moving on. I think if there's one lesson to take away from the Vikings last year, it is, the last 2 years with Kirk Cousins as well, it is they built a good enough team that team can drag average quarterbacks to good quarterbacks to great. Now I just got to find a great quarterback to carry me to Super Bowl levels. I love the culture Minnesota's built. I love the offense they've built. I love the skill set weaponry they put around a guy. They got to go find a guy, and how anybody thinks Sam Darnold is that guy after the end of last year, I don't get it. Somebody's going to get talked into doing what Atlanta did with Kirk Cousins and overpaying Sam Darnold. It's not going to be San Francisco. It looks like they've opened up their negotiations with Brock Purdy, who I feel the exact same way about Brock Purdy as I do Sam Darnold. Does Sam Darnold have a QB1 landing spot somewhere next year, or does Minnesota decide run it back one more time and let J.J. McCarthy have another year to get ready?
He is recovering from a pretty major injury, so it wouldn't surprise me if they bring him back and go, we'll run it back one more year. They don't want to rush JJ. They don't have to, right? That division is insanely tough. It's only going to get tougher. So why rush him back when you have to face the Bears with a new improved head coach, the Packers with a pretty good defense, and then on top of that, you have to face the Detroit Lions, who are a pretty stacked team as well. And you really want to rush a young QB, ride it all into that, who, let's be honest, of all the QBs in that class, was probably the least amount of talent out of all of them. I don't know if I really want to do that right away. I think it makes more sense to kind of maybe just franchise tag and do one more year with Sam Darnold in Minnesota. If it's not Minnesota, I see a lot of teams maybe just taking the ride because of this weak draft class. We haven't heard one positive thing about Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. We've had 3 draft people on our show, and every draft guy that we've had on, I've left going, I think a little bit less of this QB class. So if you're the Giants, for example, maybe Sam Darnold's your bridge guy, and Brian Daboll and Joe, they need a playoff runner. Their owner's literally going to come in there and say, pack up the things, fellas. It's time to leave.
Yes, as we all know, the Giants ownership has just been an absolute beacon of responsible ownership over the past couple of years. Saquon says hi, by the way.
But he is fed up. Like, he's made that very clear in press conferences. He's very fed up. And he's
okay, and I'm real dedicated to making the NBA. It doesn't mean I'm capable of it.
That's a fair point. That being said, though, let's not talk too much crap about our boy Joe. Guess where he went to college?
He let Saquon walk.
And he's a great DePaul alum, baby. Shout out to Greencastle, Indiana.
I don't care if he is my brother. That's a terrible, terrible decision. Like that, it's not just that it's a terrible decision because I think we as fans, I will acknowledge, we as fans love to make judgments about decisions in hindsight and not hold ourselves accountable for agreeing or disagreeing with the decision in process. But the day Saquon walked, I was like, yo, G-Man are going to live to regret this. Like, that's the most obvious bleep up in years.
Okay, but how good would Saquon be on that crappy Giants team? How good, really?
He was good before they let him go.
No, but
he wasn't the problem.
But what would that get you? That's my point with letting Saquon go. The Giants, where I get it. We're like, you weren't talented anyways. You weren't a good football team. What would having an insanely good running back really do for you? You're gonna make the playoffs now? You didn't really compete for a Super Bowl? No, you wouldn't do anything. Daniel Jones is still a quarterback that's going to set you back, and he did. Mike Neighbors was crying because he didn't get the football enough. Your defense is still a couple seasons away from being very, very legit. Like, that team wasn't going anywhere with Saquon. You might as well let him go.
Fair. That's actually fair. That's actually a good point. I'm actually going to give a point to Mario on that one. Congrats. It took you 5 years. I'm going to give you a point on that one. All right. That's unnecessary, and we all know it. Hey, Nas Mario Herron from the BetMGM Network joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. There is one more NFL wild card out there that I did not expect, but I'm also kind of, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh, this could make it interesting. Apparently, Tommy Brady has been taking some fellas out to dinner and asking if anybody's interested in coming to the Las Vegas Raiders, including Matt Stafford. And while if anybody else was doing that for the Raiders, I'd be like, dude, I'd be more influenced to be a Raider by Cody Decker than I would by, Michael, whatever his name is out there, Owl's kid, whatever. But if Tom Brady calls you and asks you to dinner and says, hey, I want you to be a Raider, I'm a little more interested. The Raiders might end up being an interesting little wild card in all of this.
First off, I don't believe for a second we just randomly ran into each other. And they're like, hey, let's get dinner. Come to my place in Montana. Sure. All right. Nice. Yeah, I bet. Second, look, Tom Brady's probably very persuasive, and I understand it. That's the greatest quarterback of all time. And I guarantee you in a conversation you have with him taking over as a majority owner of the Raiders, he probably has a very solid plan, and he has his guys in place. Pete Carroll's a good coach, that GM. Let's see what happens. All that being said, if I had Matthew Stafford, why the hell would I go there? Oh, hey, by the way, here's Patrick Mahomes twice a year. Oh, by the way, here's Sean Payne twice a year. Hey, one more thing. Go face Jim Harbaugh twice a year. Yeah. We got a really good tight end, but besides that, we don't got a receiving core. We got a really good defensive edge guy. Very, very good. What do you have outside of that? I'll wait. Absolutely nothing.
It's not unfair. It's not unfair. I just think if Tommy B says, come up, I'm going to cook up some elk steaks on my ranch in Montana, and he says, Matt Stafford, if you sign on with me, I will guarantee you that I am going to be out there advocating for free agents to come to Vegas. Even though Tom Brady's not an active football player anymore, he's the type of dude that's going to have, I think, more sway in attracting free agents than Al Davis's kid will. I'm not saying right now anything's going to happen. I'm saying that if there's a wild card out there that could make it interesting for no good reason, it's Brady and the Raiders.
It is. But if you're a Raiders fan, do you really want that? Like, are you really building towards your future, or are you going for a 2-year run, 3-year run? Because if you get Stafford and you have Pete Carroll, that's not a long-term head coach, and that's not a long-term quarterback. What are you going for win now right now? Why are you doing that? That makes zero sense. Why not just try to build something and not try to quickly buy your way to the top?
How long they been trying to build something, buddy?
I mean, past
Forever.
2 years.
Forever.
Okay, but at one point with Derek Carr, it looked like it was trending in a similar direction, and then it didn't work, and you had to kind of reset from there, and they're still resetting. Why not just sink for one more year and then wait out this upcoming quarterback class that's supposed to be, one of the best we've ever seen?
I don't disagree. I mean, it's not my fault they had a obvious future Hall of Famer right there on the roster, and they let him walk. But, that's different discussion. All right, real quick, we got another minute or two left with the hate and ass one here on the show. Clemson needs Louisville to drop a game, and they need Duke to drop a game. Louisville's got a couple of good, not great, but good teams. Duke has got to go to Chapel Hill to wrap up their season. Is there any chance or possibility that North Carolina could knock off Duke in the season finale and help the Clemson Tigers carry the number 1 overall seed into the ACC tournament?
It's possible. UNC's done some things to change up their lineup and change up the rotation that has been extremely beneficial to them, right? And in this rivalry, if it's proven anything, is that anything can happen on any certain day. A lot less talented North Carolina teams have beaten some insane Duke teams. Some bad Duke teams have beaten some crazy, very talented North Carolina teams. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in North Carolina, where it's R.J. Davis's last game, where he's going to find the shot very, very quickly. Elliot Cadeau knocks down some shots. Maybe even the freshmen Ian Jackson and Powell, who have been exceptional players for UNC, had big games in that one in Chapel Hill. I think it's very much possible that UNC is going to be in that game. When that line comes out, whatever it is next week, you bet your ass I'm going to bet UNC to cover, because they're going to come out fighting. They're going to come out pissed off. Hubert Davis, after he gets his butt kicked by Duke, tends to bounce back really well. Now, does that deserve a contract extension through 2030? I would argue no. I would argue absolutely not. But what do I know? I'm 26 years old with a freezing apartment right now that is making me going to wear about 4 layers all day.
I'm 26 years old. Okay, bud, we get it. We get it. By the way, Texter just wrote in and said, just wanted to point out to you guys on the stream, my 10-year-old walked in when you guys were saying birthday wishes. She turned and said, happy birthday, Rob. Is he cold? I said, who? Rob? Why? She said, because he has a beanie on. So a 10-year-old Mario looks 40.
Okay, that hurt a little bit. That hurt
Good.
a little bit.
Good.
Okay, also, I bet you said checks in the mail.
Well, here's the thing, Mario. The 10-year-old looked at the 3 of us there and thought you were the star of the show, so you had to be Rob Brown. I mean, you can look at it that way.
Oh, counter. Like Israel Adesanya right now with my counters.
First off, that was Lonzo's counter, not yours. Stop taking credit.
Same team. We're a tag team. I don't know if you've been watching WWE
Definitely
lately.
same team for sure.
Yeah. We're
It's
like
the world against Rod.
Yeah, we're like Shawn Michaels and give me a second.
Yep,
Triple
we
H.
will.
Yep.
Okay, that works.
I'm real mad. I'm real mad he got that right.
Yeah.
I'm real mad he got that right. Ladies and gentlemen, every Thursday at 9 o'clock, we are joined by Dollar Store Justin Bieber, hating ass Mario Herron from the BetMGM Tonight Network. You can BetMGM Tonight and the BetMGM Network. You can hear him on BetMGM Tonight from 7 till 11 p.m. every single weeknight, a show that I will host along with Brad Evans next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I want you to know, after today, I am coming to wreck your house next week, bud.
Well, it's an apartment. So just keep that in mind.
Metaphor, your radio show, Mario. It's a metaphor.
Wow, getting destroyed.
God,
today.
it's a metaphor.
Also, Walmart Justin Bieber is like an Indianapolis 10, a DC 9.
I need you to know that's saying less about you than you think it is, bud.
That's fine. It's completely fine.
See you next week, maybe?
I'll get
See you
you
next
Sydney
week.
Sweeney's number, by the way. I'll do that. I'll do that for you. I got you covered.
Appreciate it. I might
Who's
have
Sydney
tough
Sweeney?
competition. She
Dude,
dates Paul
I've seen
Skeens.
it. Yeah, she's been in a bunch of movies.
She's not dating Paul Skeens. That's Livy Dunn, the gymnast from LSU.
No
know,
way.
Yeah.
That's
oh,
my
God.
bad. That's my bad. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's on me. I got that confused.
Goodbye,
Oh, yeah,
Mario.
Sydney. Yeah, Sydney's Euphoria.
26. I'm 26, you guys. I'm cool. I got a beanie on. I'm 26. See you next week, maybe. We'll see. Mario Heron, BetMGM tonight. You can hear him tonight from 7 to 11. I'm 100% clipping that and sending it to Ryan Horvat and Brad Evans. Fight Club up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Don't worry, I'll make sure the audio
All
disappears.
that work
He
you
won't
were
be able to
doing
get
the
a hold
whole
of it.
show, and you blew it in the last second of the
Yeah.
interview.
I
Nice
always
job.
get them. I always get them confused though, because I'm pretty. Don't they look alike?
No.
They
Well,
don't.
they're both
well,
blonde.
They're both blonde.
They are
Nice.
both blonde. One seems to be much more flexible. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah.
You don't know that for a fact.
I saw commercials, so I mean that's all I can.
Libby Dunn is very clearly a gymnast,
Yes.
and Sydney Sweeney is very clearly an actress. We'll just leave it at that.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
but
she's
Sydney
exactly my
Sweeney
age.
could play a gymnast in a movie.
No, she could
Oh,
not.
She could.
She's a year
No, she
older.
could not. No, she could not. She, I don't know that she would be capable of. Never mind. We're just gonna stop this conversation now because I sound like an absolute creep.
Well, no more than I do, but I mean, you started it.
Oh God.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Well, what are you gonna do? All right.
Yeah, it's all right. You listen. You blew. You had an opportunity there to have maybe your best interview of all time, and you just blew it on the walk off. It happens.
Yeah, that's usually how my dates go too. I'm terrible. If I could tap Edwin Diaz for the closer.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, if you look at how
You
many
like
you
Ella?
got and how many he got one.
That's
And-
true.
And we just completely destroyed him the entire interview. So
If it was a 7-game
Just because
series,
Mario
we'd have
doesn't
won.
understand how metaphors work. Does it mean I lost?
he has declared himself victor. That's what you do when your name's on the show.
That's also true, though.
All right, I gotta head out and do this.
All right, bud.
rundown. I'll see you, fellas.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
Oh man. What a guy to call a protege, huh?
I'll take him.
Oh. We're on a heater right now over here. Except for I didn't kick the ball back that time.
Maybe he's tired of doing
It might be.
stuff.
See if it does now. Yes.
I'm not here to do your stuff. Walk over and get it yourself, mister.
Literally all that device is for.
And you're probably going to break it.
By making it do the thing it's built to do?
Well, overuse. Maybe the person who owns it doesn't make shots as much as you do.
I played golf with Joey B on Monday. I sucked, but I was absolutely crushing some putts.
How long did it take? How many strokes did it take you to get there, though?
Too many.
Mm-hmm.
But once we were on the green,
Okay.
it was just cash money, and then I missed the next two in a row.
So what you're saying, if you're playing some sort of sport with Rob, just get him to start bragging, and then he's gonna mess up, and then you can make your money back.
That's not untrue. Oh, I don't gamble on myself on golf. Are you kidding me? I suck.
You're right, Keegan. All blondes aren't the same. Some of them aren't natural. Welcome into the Fight Club where we play hurt because that's what we do. You rub some dirt on, you get back in the game, you do what you do, and win awards and trophies and stuff. Also, we have both officially changed our name to Saints because, you change your name to Saints and then you prove another company wrong about how good you really are.
Robbie Saints. Zoe Saints.
Why not? Why not? Before we get to Elimination Chamber, so Ricky Saints, he's just been sitting around, just ain't been doing anything. Couldn't find anything for him to do. Wasn't good enough to be in the ring. Apparently, got that one wrong, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you the truth real quick. I haven't watched AEW in like 3 weeks, and not only have I not watched it, I have basically been keeping up with that company via social media clips and not much else. Let me tell you where I'm at. I think Haley Cameron's going to be an absolute star, but the fact is the best thing that show has going for it right now is a puppet. Harley. The best thing that show has going for it is a ventriloquist right now. And don't get me wrong, there's room for that in wrestling. I'm team comedic wrestling. That is why friend of the show, R-Truth, remains the greatest. He got over, for the very first time in his career, Louisiana Knight last week. Biggest megastar ever out of New Orleans, Louisiana Knight. I'm a huge fan. But the biggest thing that show has going for it, like even Jon Moxley, a guy that Zoe and I both are big fans of, like even the Death Riders concept right now is just like, what are we doing here? Like, what's our goal here? I don't have one.
Yeah, I'd rather still be seeing Moxley the Mountie.
Yeah.
At least that was somewhat entertaining.
That was hilarious. But genuinely, what are we doing here? What's our goal here?
So I think one of the best things going on in wrestling right now is not only bringing in some ex-AEW guys to show how you can develop them, which is definitely a slap in the face to that company, but also the NXT TNA crossover. It's making me watch TNA, which I did not do for a very long time until Joe Hendry came along. And then I would just watch Joe Hendry matches. Now you never know who's going to show up on either show, and I think it's very entertaining. And I'm looking forward to the next PLE, which I think is next week for NXT. There's going to be a bunch of TNA people on there defending belts and stuff. It's looking really good.
It does. I think what NXT is doing right now, what NXTNA is doing right now is you know what it is? It's what wrestling should be, but done as a developmental project. If they ran the main roster the way that they run NXT right now, it might be the greatest wrestling promotion of all time. Genuinely. But yes, the crowd the other night that was chanting Tony fumbled was spot on correct. And that's just somebody who, again, I hope this doesn't get us in too much trouble. I want AEW to be good. I want it to be great. Competition breeds excellence. I want another promotion that has me going out of my way to watch it. I want to get to a point where at the end of the week, I have to make a decision about what order I'm watching what shows from what production company. And right now, there's not one.
I think you can make an argument that WWE has reached the heights that they have right now because suddenly they had some competition. I mean, not on the same level, but had the potential to be up there and actually be competition. And that helped them up the game. And, some old man got forced out. That also had a lot to do with it.
A lot.
Yeah. All right.
Most.
Elimination Chamber coming up Saturday. A couple matches aside from Elimination Chamber. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match. Hopefully they don't kill each other. They've done this sort of thing before. And is this the longest friend feud of all time?
It is. And the reason why is because we've seen it 15 times and I want to see it 17.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not interested.
It's incredible. These two guys, these two guys are what wrestling is meant to be. Like the way that they have told a story, there have been more face turns and heel turns and backstabs and assists and everything else than ever before. And they've been so good. You can go back and watch some of the old death matches when they were Kevin Steen and El Generico. I have never said holy bleep as many times watching wrestling as when these guys were getting after it. Now, the only thing I would ask, great one, is they've made it unsanctioned, which kind of sets you up for that. Will they let them go full Ring of Honor, Steen v. Generico, old school, breaking each other as people match? Or do we get a WWE style unsanctioned match where it's like, yeah, there's a couple of extra bumps in there, but it's pretty much just a match?
Because it's them, I think they let them go.
They have to, right?
Because they've done this quite a few times, and they've shown they could do it successfully without too much damage. There's going to be some damage,
Fair.
but without too much. All right, another match that's not Elimination Chamber, which I don't know why it's on there, but it is. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratton versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I mean, why is this on a PLE?
Because they're in Toronto and you got to get Trish Stratus on the
Okay,
card.
all right, I guess
That's why.
makes sense.
That's why. It's the only reason. You get Tiffy time on the card. You don't have to do anything extra with it. You don't have to put a belt on the line. You get Nia on the card. She is, your dominant monster right now. And if you're in Toronto, Canada, you got to put Trish Stratus in the ring. And I'll say this. The last 2 times Trish has been in the ring, I'm like, maybe just make her Tiffy Time's valet for a few minutes or something. Like, give her a reason to be on camera. But like, I love you, Trish. You are obviously one of the women that was in that Rob's Becoming a Man era. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Trish Stratus. She does not need to be in the ring trying to go anymore.
Agreed. And also, I just want to say, Candice LeRae is the perfect hanger-on type person that finds someone to hang on. I think she plays that role really good.
I do too.
Whether you like her or not, she's the perfect person to put in that position.
I don't disagree. I agree with you. I agree with the concept.
She's a good worker. She doesn't really need a whole lot.
She's safe. She's fine. She's not going to do anything that electrifies you. She's never going to win a crowd over on her own. I think that's the only issue I have is like there's never a spot where you're going to get that great Candice LeRae face moment where she's going to turn and everybody's going to be on board. She's just a good generic, we need somebody to go up there and get beat up on behalf of the face or heel character.
All right. Will Cody give his soul away to The Rock?
No.
I mean, what's the point?
No. You're okay. So let's talk about the real root of the problem with this story. Rock had more face turns in one segment than the Big Show's had in his whole career, right? Like he had more. It was the goosebumps and the finally, and everybody's like excited, and then like one sentence later he's like, shut up before I slap the syphilis off of your mouth. And it's like, oh, you're a bad guy again then. And he's like, me and Cody, we're actually buddies and I'm so proud of him. It's like, face turn. And then he turns around and he's like, but I want your soul. And it's like, oh, heel turn. I don't understand what that was supposed to be. If you're coming out there to be the new corporate entity, you're coming out there to show that you are the fight, then be a heel. And I understand why you kind of had to come out in a face role because you were announcing that New Orleans is the site of WrestleMania next year. Fine, I'm good with that. But if you're going to do this whole I want your soul Cody thing, you can't do that as like and it's not a tweener. Like even the concept of a tweener, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a tweener his whole career. He was an active face for 3 sentences and then a mega heel for 3 sentences, but then right back to a face and right back to a heel. And he didn't do it in a way that it made any sense. It just didn't make sense.
So where do you put this in the show? And is this more about who he's not going to sell his soul, but someone already has, and that person's going to come out and help The Rock beat up Cody? I mean, or something like that.
Well, so Cody is going to make his decision, and let's be real, we all know what the decision is. Of course, he's not going to sell his soul to The Rock. The question is, very simply, did we get a Cena heel turn? That's the only option here, right? You're not, again, we've talked about this at the end of the day. In fact, I talked about this Tuesday on BetMGM tonight because I'm very good at my job. Cody sells more merch than anybody else. He is the kids' babyface champion right now, even if he is a boring champion. Respectfully, he is. The best we've gotten was his feud with Kevin Owens in that ladder match, and why? Because he didn't act like a face. He acted like a heel trying to end Kevin Owens. That's what made that match interesting. But he's selling and moving so much merch, and the kids are so on board with him right now, you can't turn him heel. So you have 2 options, which is either The Rock puts an anti-Cody stable together, which we've already done for like 4 years in a row now, or John Cena turns heel. John Cena finally goes on a heel run that he never has, and I don't know if he's wanted to or not, but he goes on a heel run to get number 17. In which case,
he's already
I'm in.
set it up. If that was, I mean, with that press conference, kind of going corporate in the press conference, didn't really think about that, made it about himself, which he hasn't really done.
Yep.
I kind of hope that happens. That would be kind of cool. All right, let's get to the matches. Women's Elimination Chamber: Liv Morgan versus Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss versus Bayley versus Naomi versus Roxanne Perez. Who you got? I can't. She's just so annoying. Jordan Grace. I'm glad she nearly knocked her head off.
By the way, Jordan Grace is going to be an absolute megastar, right? Like, she's going to be an absolute legend for a long time. She is. There's just nothing negative about her. On the women's side, I have gone back and forth a lot of different times about this. I think it's going to be Bianca. I think it's going to be Bianca Belair. You've got the Naomi and Jade Cargill storyline that is still floating around out there. You can obviously put them back into the tag picture if you want to create some weirdness there. Bianca can go right back into the main event picture if you want. I think they kind of cooled them off a little bit, both to bring some heat when Jade Cargill returns, A, and B, to allow Bianca, because apparently her and Montez are getting divorced behind the scenes in real life. So I think he gave her some time to, like, go handle her business on that end of it, especially since they both still work in the same place. But I think you're going to go ahead and see her full throttle back up because everybody else has gotten there. You know, Nia Jax has got Alexa Bliss coming. Roxanne's got whoever they want to line her up against. Charlotte and Rhea can go at it, whatever. You need something to do with Bianca and setting her up for her versus Naomi versus Jay moving forward. But you got to put a rocket on her to make that happen.
Okay,
So I'm going Belair.
I have a comment on that, but before I do, Keith on the stream says Bliss brings the title to
subscribe. Let's do it.
6, who we haven't seen in a while because of injury.
I'm ready for my moment of bliss.
All right, so I think it's going to be along those lines. I think Naomi's going to win because I think Jade Cargill is going to come out and she's going to do the monster thing and somehow get inside the chamber and take out Bianca for Bianca being the one that injured her.
No. Bianca absolutely wasn't the one who injured her. Bianca was in the ring when she got injured.
We don't know when they discovered the body.
The body. She could
have been laying back there for at least 20
Somebody
minutes,
get
30
Jeff
minutes.
Goldblum in here. There's been a murder.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think it's anybody but Naomi who laid out Jade Cargill, which is why I think she comes back and gets Naomi, and that's another part of the reason I'm picking Bianca.
All right. I'm also going with Bianca, by the way. That thing that I said that I would love to see happen, I don't think it's going to happen. I think what you said is going to happen. It's going to happen. Men's Elimination Chamber, John Cena versus CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre versus Logan Paul versus Damian Priest, friend of the show, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins. A lot of people thinking that Damian Priest doesn't even wrestle because The Rock takes a spot or takes someone's spot. You're going to get mad at me. I think Logan Paul wins the Elimination Chamber.
Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. There's no reason for it. I will also.
He's always mad at me, so I don't care.
I'm not mad at you.
I think Logan Paul wins.
There's negative chance that Logan Paul. I think they understand to some degree what Logan Paul is, which is a guy you can throw in there because the YouTube hits are monumental. They got like 50 million hits every time he goes on TV.
He's already had a championship match. He's already held a championship.
I don't disagree, and I think considering it was very negatively received, whether you like it or not. The YouTube hits are worth something, but how do you get the most YouTube hits out of Logan Paul? You just let him be the body that gets bagged throughout this match. I think it's going to be just like it was in the Rumble. Everybody's beating up on Logan Paul. There's only 2 names that win this thing. It's either going to be John Cena or CM Punk. And there's a whole story with the whole concept of Punk because he's got the Heyman favor, and there's a lot of people that believe that Punk gets himself added via Paul Heyman into the title picture at Mania, and it becomes a triple threat. I don't know about all that. Here's all I know. I don't let the gambling odds impact what I'm going to pick on this show. John Cena's minus 1,500 to win this match. The next closest is CM Punk at 3-1. You understand the difference there? That's like the Chiefs versus DePaul football. 1,300 or 1,500 to 1 to plus 300. John Cena is winning this Elimination Chamber. Question mark is, Does he win it with heel tactics in turn, or do they save that for Mania, or are they going to give us a genuine face-via-face main event?
Also seeing a lot about corporate CM Punk.
Also that?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, how great of a character turn is it if CM Punk becomes a corporate figure?
Not
that could
really,
be great.
Not really that much of a turn.
That was literally, being anti-that was 40 years of his character.
Pipe Bomb was written by somebody else.
A wrestling promo was scripted? Stop it. No way. One segment left. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
That's all I'm here for. Is for just making him mad. You know, it's very entertaining. I hate that they moved the PLEs to Saturday nights though, because that's a problem for me. This is always going on right when I'm on the air, and then I have to decide: do I want to watch it while I'm doing the show, which I'm perfectly capable of doing, or watching it later and try not to get spoiled? And it's hard to not get spoiled, especially when the show you're doing is actually online and people can just throw that in there. So I don't know. Although I did get a guy who was not a wrestling fan to watch wrestling last month when I got Odie to watch a big portion of the Royal Rumble, which we were watching, waiting to get ready to do the Upstate Pulse. And then he went home and watched the rest. So, you know, maybe I should watch it whilst doing the show. Trying to think of any wrestler who never had a heel turn. Cena was on the edge a couple times. I think somebody got lost.
I think it's worth the conversation even if nobody else does. Hooters is going into bankruptcy. I can tell you why. It's really not that complicated. And I say this with all due love and respect to a restaurant that I was in a lot when I was growing up, all right? My old man took me to Hooters when I was a kid. I kept going to Hooters when I became an adult. And I will tell you why. To the disbelief of many of the ladies, including my mother out there, I can tell you why. Because their wings used to slap. Because they used to genuinely have the best wings in the game.
Only been there a couple of times, and it was for remotes. But the wings were really good.
The wings used to slap. They used to be fantastic. And about 10 years ago or so, they changed them. And I don't know why. I got guesses. I don't know that any of them are more or less correct than any of the others. My guess is because back in the day when I used to go to Hooters, and I can say this with all sincerity, Scout's honor, I used to go to Hooters for wings. I didn't care about the girls. I used to go to Hooters for the wings. The wings were genuinely delicious. And then...
So the girls didn't add to it at all?
No, I can tell you, Scout's honor.
Okay.
I went to Hooters for the wings. Okay? Just like I will go, there's a dive bar around the corner from my house that has spectacular wings. And I go there for the wings. And the people who work there, they ain't Hooters girls. I don't care. I'm a fat guy. I go to places for the food. Okay? Or the beer or the drinks or the cocktails or whatever they do. If they do a thing and they do it exceptionally well, I will go there for that, other circumstances pending. Hooters used to have, I mean it, the best wings in the game. And about a decade ago, they changed them. My theory is because back in the day, they used to bread the wings when you ordered them, fry the wings when they ordered. When they brought them out, you could still see the oil bubbling on the wings because they just pulled those wings up out of the fryer. I used to have, back in the day, a friend who literally worked at Hooters as a wing guy, as a wing chef, or whatever you call him. And I used to be...
How you doing? I'm a wing guy.
This is also true. That was because for about 4 years when I lived down in Destin, I did a show from 7 till 11 p.m. called The Hooters Sports Show with Rob Brown. I did these shows one day a week, every week, at Hooters across the Florida Panhandle.
It's awesome that we both have been sponsored by Hooters before.
Straight up. It's my favorite show I've ever done. Because this may shock you, Hooters wanted, like, authentic, unless the FCC says no, we want you to be just unbridled Rob Brown. Like, the chaos on this show is energetic because it's a morning show. The chaos on that show was a different level, okay? Used to be sponsored. I used to love it. And I would go there, and I would just absolutely just nuke some wings, okay? And then about 10 years ago, about the time I was doing that show, they changed the wings. My guess has been and remains, because it was expensive and time-consuming to send the chicken wings to the restaurant to then have somebody in the restaurant dip and bread and fry the wings to order. And I suspect that now they just send pre-cooked wings to the Hooters, and all they got to do is either like flash fry them or heat them up or whatever. But the quality in the wings dropped dramatically. And what was the common misconception, as UNC Chris just texted the show at 844-326-3663 and said, right, Rob, and I read Playboy for the articles, LOL. Scout's honor, okay? I went to Hooters for the wings. They were the best I could get. And then they changed the quality. And while, yes, many fellers went to the Hooters for the girls, for the ladies, that is true. They also went because the wings were good and the beer was cold. And that is a selling point. Having some attractive young ladies bring you the plate full of wings is another story. Like, yes, that is an added benefit. But I don't go to a place or do a thing for the added benefits. I do it for the thing. If I go to your restaurant and your restaurant sucks and the service is bad, but you give me the best wings I've ever had, I will come back to your dingy-ass watering hole with your mean waiter if the wings slap. Hooters wings used to genuinely slap, and then they decreased the quality of the wing, and now it's like, guys, I got the internet. If I want to see a pretty girl, I got Google at the crib. And I got it on my phone. I don't need to come to Hooters for a pretty girl anymore. I can just look on the internet. Now, if you have wings that slap and there's a pretty girl that talks to me, that's an added benefit. But Hooters ain't going through bankruptcy because, like, millennials don't like attractive women. Yeah, we do. I promise you. I promise you we still do. We don't go anymore because, A, you dropped the quality of the wing, but you didn't drop the price with it. If you would have dropped the price, you'd have probably been cool too. But you're charging me the same amount for an inferior wing. It doesn't matter how gorgeous the girl serving it to me is. If you give me a high quality wing at a good price point, I'm in. Or if you give me an okay wing and you're going to charge me 20 cents a wing instead of $1, I'm in. But you didn't. You cut both out. This isn't a mystery that we need to spend hours solving. Make the wings go back to what they were or drop the price down to meet them, and we're right back in.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
By the way, last week when this story broke, I was driving down a road where there was a Hooters, and it looked pretty busy to me. I mean,
some of them are still busy.
Yeah.
There are absolutely still dudes out there that are going to go to the Hooters for the attention from an attractive waitress. Ain't no doubt about it. But it's not booming like it used to be because there has not been in a decade a night where I've gone, I want wings. It used to be, I want wings, I'm going to the Hooters. I will drive past some other wing spots to get to the Hooters. Now it's like, I will drive past the Hooters to get to the other wing spot. And it's not a shot at Hooters because I would love for it to be great again. Make Hooters great again.
Or you just throw the Hooters in your own air fryer. I mean, the wings.
Yeah, I can make my own wings better at the crib now than I can at Hooters. Right. And I used to love Hooters.
The first thing that's axing is sad. It's Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, rest in peace, Hackman. This is a weird story.
It is weird.
Apparently him, his wife, and his dog were all found deceased overnight, which leads me to believe that like something that was like carbon monoxide poisoning or something weird happened. And that's also Gene Hackman was like 90-something years old.
95, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like he was like outside of the range where it was a shock anymore. But with his wife and his dog also passing away, apparently it's going to turn out to be some sort of unnecessary tragedy. People, install and check your carbon monoxide detectors. I can't tell you how important that is, but yes, a very sad story. Gene Hackman, star of the greatest basketball movie of all time, Hoosiers. As well as a bunch of other great movies.
Better villain or better good guy?
Yes. But better villain.
Yeah,
better
he's
villain.
definitely a better
Without
villain.
a doubt. Better villain.
Lex Luthor in the original Superman and Lil Bill.
Gene Hackman was a great villain. Just a great actor. The fact that he could be a face or a heel, but was a better heel.
Also coached both basketball and football.
Yeah.
That's how good he was.
I'm not a bit like Any Given Sunday's a good movie.
No, I'm talking about
not Any Given
I'm talking
Sunday.
about Replacements.
Replacements, that's what I meant. Replacements is a good movie. It's not on my Mount Rushmore of football movies, but it is very good. Hackman was very good at it.
Pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever. That's Keanu, man. All right, the next thing that's axing is Taylor Swift.
Tay-Tay trending. I do not know why. I'm going to assume there is another, like, I saw that somehow she is now connected to the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds drama. Like, she had some interaction with the dude who is at the center of all this, and Blake Lively, it's been dragged out basically that she was making up a bunch of stuff, and then Ryan, apparently, which I'm going to be real. If we lose Ryan Reynolds from the nice guys department, it's going to be real upsetting for me.
I don't think he was ever really a nice guy.
Well,
I think
at
that
least
was
from
more
the
act part,
yes, at least allowed us to believe that he was in the good guy department will be heartbreaking.
The reason why it's axing is because Travis Kelce has made his way through the pain of the loss of the Super Bowl by listening to Taylor Swift songs.
I mean, me too. Me too. I'm just going to tell you right now, there's nothing that soothes the heartbreak and ache of one Rob Brown than listening to a mid-30s woman sing about her exes, and I'm not even joking.
All right.
Tay-Tay's therapeutic.
All right, and finally, people are probably going to get mad that I'm throwing this on here, but I have an angle. Epstein is axing. And here's the reason why, before you say anything. What if there are sports people on this list? They talk about entertainers. No one talks about sports people. Sports people have a lot of disposable income. What if when this list comes out, we find out like some famous basketball players and football players are on the list?
So two things. Number one, I don't for a second believe this list has ever seen the light of day. Number two, if it does see the light of day, it is going to be heavily redacted. Okay? It just is because we know that there are people in charge of letting out the list who are going to be on the list. We're not getting the full entire list.
We don't know that for sure, but we can speculate.
We can speculate by looking at pictures of them hanging out together. But that's a different story for a different show. So instead, I'll simply say, bring it all to light and let's go get every one of the Sun Guns. I don't care who they are. I don't care if I like them. I don't care if I don't. Pitchforks and torches have never been more justified. If you're on the list, you gonna get got. That's all it should be. Have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody here. We'll see you back here tomorrow. We do it all over again, but probably better. Maybe we'll see if I don't get pink slipped after this show. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. Have a great rest of your day. See you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Off State. Later. I don't have any sounds up. I forgot. Bye.
I don't know, Joe. I wouldn't have said that about Rob. I don't think Rob's on the list.
I don't think Rob's on the list.
Yeah.
I don't think Rob's on the list.
I mean, Rob would know if Rob was on the list. And if there was redaction and Rob were on the list, he would be one of the names that would be redacted.
I know people. I got connections. I was not on the list, so we're clear. It's all a joke. Like most of my career. All right, thanks for being here, people. You're all spectacular. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich and famous. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.